What's up, Sue? I just gotta retweet this shit. I figured out how to do a space. It's been a minute. I thought Holly already dipped, man. I was like, damn. Bounced in and out. Sorry, guys. It's been a minute since I've done a space. How you guys doing? Yes, I know you can't answer me. I'm trying to retweet this now. Miss doing spaces. Miss y'all. I just trying to let UFO Twitter calm down just a little bit. You guys come on up here to speak if you want. Bullshit until we get this going if you want.
Hi.
What's up, Sue?
Not much. How about you?
Sorry, I was talking with the mic on mute, so that's how my day's rolling right now.
Gotta get those gummies, Shane.
Yes, actually, someone actually just hit me up about some mushroom gummies
Oh.
that they make nowadays because Oregon's legal now. I live right next to Oregon, so. And I tell you what, microdosing is one of the best things that I think I ever did for my PTSD. So I don't macrodose, which means I've done it once in a while where I've tripped balls, but microdosing is just taking just a minimal amount where you're getting benefits, but you're not necessarily tripping balls, right? You wouldn't have to worry about tripping balls, Sue, but you would still be tripping.
Yes, I've heard microdosing is good for a lot of things. I'm actually going to get myself some
depression,
gummies.
all kinds of shit.
I'm going to the dispensary this weekend for sure to get some gummies. Like full-on gummies, everything.
Right on, right on. No, I'm going to retweet this, guys, and try to get this going before I start up. So if you guys could do me a favor, do the same thing, kind of like, retweet, quote, hashtag. Once we get going, too, I got a giveaway I'm going to do tonight as well. So I'm just wait till the room fuels up because I don't want to say it 500 times. Hey, Sue, your mic's hot. I got it. Holly, maybe that's your mic's hot?
No, my mic wasn't hot. I was retweeting. It wasn't even on.
I could hear somebody breathing. I could hear somebody breathing. And it wasn't in a good way.
It's not me. Hey, Shane.
Well, what's up, Holly? I don't know. It sounded like you. Remind me of the other night when I was just laying there and you're just breathing. In my ear. I'm watching you. Now, somebody had their mic hot, and I think it was either Sue or Holly.
Hey, don't blame me. I had my mic off. Don't bring it, buddy.
I can't help it.
It's 1 a.m. for me right now, so
Oh, thanks for coming. It is late, huh?
Yeah, man. It's late. I don't sleep anyway, so hey.
No biggie. Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about anomalous injuries, retrievals, crashes, what people think, different things that we have that I've kind of, I guess, come upon in the last couple of years of just researching. So
I'm Shane, I'm going to dip down just to be a listener because I cannot confirm or deny, but I may be in a state where I fall asleep randomly.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming, Holly.
Love you, buddy.
Holly, how are you, hon? What's going on, Shane? Sue?
What's up, Rob?
Nothing much, brother. Somebody just said you had a space starting, so I thought I'd jump in.
Yeah, we're just going to let her fill up, and then we'll get her going, and then I'll start posting stuff in the thread about the retrievals, anomalous injuries, things like that. I just want to get her going. So everybody, I guess, retweet this, hashtag it, let people know there's going to be a badass space going on. So we'll get this going. We'll have a good time, like we used to before UFO Twitter all wild out. People just not go there. None of that tonight. We're not even talking about that shit. So, right? Blame me. I'm just ready to do some good and positive focused shit, do some research, and you guys are all welcome to come up here, speakers. You know the rules. We don't talk about people who aren't in the room in a negative way, and we just focus on the subject at hand. We don't wild out and start telling jokes unless it's a joke about aliens. Those are always welcome in my spaces, or NHI, whatever the fuck you want to call them.
I had my first alien book to read.
What's it called, Sue?
I mean,
And
my
how did you
first
get it?
UFO book. It's called. I keep forgetting. Down. Oh God.
If you can't read the title, you're gonna have a lot of trouble with that book.
Well, actually, I honestly can't read it. My eyes aren't healed enough, so
Okay,
I have to wait a
it's down
little
the
bit.
rabbit. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, the UFO rabbit hole,
I have that
and I
next to
got it.
my bed right
And,
now too.
is that
And I
Kelly?
got
Is
it.
that Kelly's book? Is that?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
We
Ah,
love
I
beautiful.
got it.
Kelly. We love Kelly. We love Kelly. 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 She's
I
such
got
an
it at.
amazing being. I'm so grateful to her. Her book is literally right next to me now. She's just such a light in our community.
She was very, very nice, and I did get the book Compliments of Shane because I wanted a beginner's book since I'm not an experiencer and I'm still learning. But I think it's time that I read up and get some more knowledge. And I think I've listened for a few months now.
You know
And
what, Sue?
what?
That Shane sounds fucking amazing. I wish I knew that guy.
He's really something. He's special.
He's real humble as well.
He
Yeah,
is. Oh yeah,
humble, and my mom said I was special, so both of you are right.
in a good way.
Yeah.
He's very
So
generous.
here's what we're gonna do tonight, guys. I like that thing up here. We talk about anything paranormal, but I want to try to focus about crashes, retrievals, anomalous injuries, and I'm gonna do another giveaway tonight. Probably books. And here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna have 2 or 3 books that you can choose from in them, and it's usually gonna be people within the community or books that I think are important to the topic. And what happens is all I need is an email, and then you go to Amazon or you get a credit. Either way, you can do Audible or I can send you the hard copy. So I'm gonna do a couple copies. I'm definitely going to do, we got 2 people from UFO Twitter. So we got the UFO Rabbit Hole by Kelly Chase, that I'm going to give away, as well as Reliable Field Guide to UFO Science, Media Data, and Sources. And that's by, oh man, I'm going to mess it. I don't know, Stephen J. Dirac, right? So those are 2 of them. And there's going to be one more that's just, if I get you an Audible credit instead, that's up to you. You pick anything you want, but it's honor code that it's UAP related since you're going to be winning this shit, right? So we'll go over that first. Retweet this space, quote it, hashtag it, and then that's one of the chances to win. That's all you got to do. The best retweet, and that's one of the chances to win a book of your choice, an Audible credit or whatever. And then we'll talk about that other one next, right? So let's get some more people in here. And no, Toby, you don't win shit, bro. I know you in real life, and you suck. Good to see my veteran friends and family up in here. I can tell you what, it's been a minute since I had a space, so I forgot kind of how to do this. Most of the people that usually help me as co-host, I don't know where they're at tonight.
You got this, brother. I'll co-host if you need me to. I've got other things going on, but I don't mind for a little while.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, just trying to, if they don't show up, we'll do that. So remember, guys, this is your chance. And also, I don't care if you have kids at home. If you want to talk, this is one of those spaces that as long as we keep it on subject, I want to hear your input. This isn't a Q&A space. I'm not interviewing anybody. This is about us, community. So don't worry that you have your kids being loud, that you're a good parent. No big deal. Buddy, knock that thumbs down off shit right now. Not in my space, man. Not in my space. Glad you're here, buddy. So that's all we got to do is just focus, keep this shit positive. I don't care what we talk about paranormal related, but I want to hear your guys' opinions on crashes, retrievals, injuries, anomalous injuries. And I have a couple things to say about anomalous injuries as well. So it'd be kind of cool to talk about this, especially about, I guess you would say, related to what just came out in the report, how that kind of relates to not a whole lot, but what's that going to do for people who need help, right? So what do we do? Where do we go from there? What are actions we could take? Any of that stuff we can talk about tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and retweet this real quick, guys. So twiddle your thumbs, entertain yourself real quick. What's up, Ray?
What's up, Shane? How you doing?
I'm alive still. This space is a proof of life space. That's what it is.
I'm so happy that you're still alive. I'm happy that everybody's here and breathing and living. Good stuff.
I tell you what, I'm kind of proud of, guys. No matter what kind of shit show and toxic behavior was on this shit, UFO Twitter Week is still trending. You know, we had a lot of good stuff going on. That was a lot of fun. I got a lot of DMs from people about the spaces we held and the people we interviewed and the different, just like, oh, that was awesome. Just out of the blue, people I hadn't talked to in minutes. So good things. We're going to look forward to doing a lot more stuff like that, like a video version. And then also some more spaces where you do Q&As for the community. So you guys can also ask questions to some of these people, you know, because it's kind of cool to be able to interact with these people. And we know a lot about the subject. So being able to ask them questions, a lot of times questions end up out there that no one else has ever asked them, and they kind of have to think. So what's up, Mariah? I'm glad you're in here.
Hey, Shane, we got a special guest joining us in mid-February. If you want to join in on that, I'll send you a DM.
What's that? Yeah, send me a DM, man.
Yeah.
Hey, and right now, before I forget, because I'm a really bad promoter of my own stuff, even though it's positive, I got a podcast, Roswell UFO Symposium. I'm also going to be at the UFO Expo in March with the podcast live and doing a panel with the Roswell Daily Record about the Roswell Daily Record with Toby and Mike. I'm also a producer and on Mike Escape quite a bit. And that's usually stuff that I do not know. Esoteric, megalith type stuff, I have zero goddamn clue. If it's not UAP, and see, Mike's the opposite. He won't admit to it. But if it's not UAP related, I don't know what the hell's going on. So
That last Mind Escapes, that's what it's called, right? That last podcast, where I can't think of was his last name Hawkins? I don't know. Where he talked about Charles Manson and all that.
yes,
That was a really interesting podcast. I wasn't going to stay up, but I couldn't stop listening. That was really cool. He touched on so many things, but just the stuff he was saying, like pop culture type things, were really interesting. That was a really good podcast. I did comment twice and tweeted on it, so
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anybody can speak in here. Tech, Deb, you guys want to come up here? Deb, if you want to co-host, I could use you as a co-host, so it's not all men up in here trying to run this place, but I don't mind running this place. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's no, I sent her an invite, so whatever. 100? Yes? All right, cool.
Yeah, come on up, Deb.
Yeah, she's the perfect person to actually have for this. This is when I was hoping, I sent her an invite because
She
this
is
pertinent
the
to some of the stuff
best.
we're doing, some of the stuff we're
Yeah.
working on. So,
Hey, Ray.
Hi.
what's up, Deb?
Hey, I wasn't expecting to talk. I was just going to listen.
So it's all right. I need a co-host, and you know what? We're talking about anomalous injuries, crash retrieval, stuff like that. And with that dropping today, or was it yesterday? I don't remember what day it was because there's really not much to it. Let me just say that we still got a lot of work to do, and I'm curious what people classify as anomalous injuries, right? So you're a perfect person to have up in here since we do UAP Med together. B's here.
Well, I did have something to comment on that. It's interesting because there's basically, it's a semantics thing, right? It's like not classified yet is implied. Or, just the word classified, that's not like a really determining word either. So I think it's a semantics issue.
I agree. And here's one of my points. So I would assume, in my opinion, anomalous injury would also be something that afflicts your mental health. It doesn't have to be a physical injury. So I know from my experience, I'm struggling with symptoms of PTSD from my experience. And because I have, because I guess you would say I'm very mindful and I've spent years in inpatient stuff for PTSD, I could see the symptoms and it's ridiculous, but it doesn't mean I can stop them because I don't have somebody that I can dump all of this to, right, type thing. So in my opinion, that's an anomalous injury. And I bet you more people suffer from that than maybe the physical. What do you think, Deb?
Absolutely. And we have seen time and time again that there are documented examples of injuries, and those are reported by numerous experiencers. So I think we also have to remember, though, that this report is only looking at a small time frame, and we also have to consider that some of those injuries may not be evident immediately, or some they might not have been willing to admit were related.
Yes, for real. Those are good points. I'll tell you that I'm not sure if anyone in here knows why a couple of these different cases are important. Like Rendlesham Forest, there's a reason that case is important, as well as the Cash Landrum. Rendlesham Forest is important because was it Burroughs? John Burroughs actually had to get John McCain involved, Senator McCain at the time before he passed away, because he was having after effects from the anomalous injuries from an incident the Air Force didn't want to recognize, and so he couldn't get benefits. He couldn't even get his own medical records. And I know Deb had asked a question the other day. Was the other day that he thought that he now has access to them? But I do know that McCain ended up getting him the benefits for this said injury, which is, in a way, the United States government's admitting that that event happened. Those injuries are there. And then you had the Cash Landrum, which I'm going to mess the name. Was it Betty Cash? Where they sued the United States government for a UFO incident. They received injuries during said incident, and they saw United States government helicopters as well as the UAP. So they sued the government, and so that's important because it's in the public record and it's an actual event that's taking place with lots of factual data behind it. And as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to go in this thread. I'm going to post a bunch of the stuff that I have up. I'm just kind of waiting for my other co-hosts to get in here.
Did they win?
Did they win the case? No.
Oh, really?
We probably wouldn't be having this conversation, doing this in these rooms if they did.
That's terrible.
Part of the problem with that case is that they were trying to blame the U.S. government, and that was because of the helicopters that they saw there, and they were convinced that this was U.S. government tech that they saw, and that the government was responsible. Ultimately, that's going to be a problem, because can you really blame the government if it's a UFO?
That's right, and that's one of the things that I guess you'd say stands out about the case is they didn't think it was UAP. And I actually thought I read somewhere, and someone argued this against me. I read somewhere that the people that got out of the craft, or whatever got out of the craft, were in U.S., like they looked like soldiers. And I know I've read that somewhere. And someone told me that they said, no, that they were I know the helicopters were there too, but part of the reason that I was under the impression they thought it was all U.S. government, like the government was flying some new tech because one of the people that got off had a uniform and all the likes, right? And I know I've read that somewhere. Maybe it's a different version of it, but they argued because they were sure it was government tech. They weren't saying it was UAP or anything like that, but the government was saying it wasn't them. Crickets.
I honestly don't remember anything about people coming out. I just remember they saw numerous helicopters by multiple people.
Hey, are you being murdered, Deb? Because your phone's going crazy when you talk.
Boy, I was thinking it. I just wasn't saying it, Shane. Oh, man. I think Shane might get cut, or we all did one.
Yeah, just checking on her, making sure she's
I'm not being murdered. I just
Okay.
had to take the headset off.
Okay, right on. That sounds way better, by the way. I found, actually, I'm going to go get the document here in a second. If you guys have any cases that you know of that aren't those two most famous cases, put them in the thread, or let's come up here and let's talk about them. I actually found a document I want to put in the thread that actually lists a crap load of crash retrievals and possible body retrievals, stuff that I didn't even know about. So it's just an example. There was a flap in New Mexico that I actually sent a screenshot to Toby, who works for the Roswell Daily Record. I think he's still in here. Maybe not. No, he's not. He's a shitty friend. So anyway, I sent him a screenshot and I said, hey, dude, check this out. So before Roswell, there was I think there was 2 crashes in New Mexico, and then right after Roswell, there was 3 or 4 more in New Mexico, right? All with bodies and everything. And then there was an early one. I'm like, even before Aurora, there was a supposed crash. So I'll find that document posted in here. What's up, Jay?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, just pertaining to the DNI report that came out yesterday, I think, like most people, something that really stood out was the section on flight safety concerns and health implications. In particular, 2 sentences in there, which said, regarding health concerns, there have also been no encounters with UAP confirmed to contribute directly to adverse health-related effects to the observers. Acknowledging that health-related effects may appear at any time after an event occurs, ARROW will track any reported health implications related to UAP should they emerge. And that's pretty interesting, considering that one of the signature findings related to OSAP previously, and it was in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, had to do with immunological injuries to experiencers. And they identified several different syndromes in the book. And I know this personally because I have spent years and years talking to experiencers, and I'm well aware of the different immunological effects that people suffer from. And so that was kind of a bit of an oddity. Another thing that was in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon was from 2008 to 2010. They were doing intensive research around viruses and the immune system. And there's a whole pile of people that are involved in the study of this subject that have a background in immunology. So them saying that there's nothing there is very suspicious. I think this is a premiere finding, and they're actually clawing this back because they do not want to draw attention to it. So I'll just leave it there.
Hey, that's a hell of a point. And our very own Lou Elizondo, doesn't he have a background in some stuff like that?
And yes, he does. He has a double major in immunology and I can't remember the second one. Anyways, yeah, it's not parasitology, even though he has studied parasitology. It's immunology and bio something or other. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, no, he does. Of course, as we all know, Gary Nolan does. Colm Kelleher has worked in the past in the field of immunology and research and stuff like that. He was involved in research many, many years ago involving bovine immunodeficiency virus, which seems a little interesting considering that that's another part of the phenomenon that may be tied into this. There's also people involved in the Joint Task Force for Space Defense. They're also doing research on immune system stuff. So yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle as to why they've left that out, but I think it is intentional. They can always play the, well, we don't know for sure that there's a relationship, but if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So yeah.
Actually, that's a lot of good points too. The bovine thing's super important, and I'll point out because cattle mutilation. I mean, it's something that I know has been brought up time and time again, that maybe there is a bit of a government aspect, and maybe that's how they're checking and things like that. So it's a hell of a point right there. Small room, but the smartest people on UFO Twitter in this room. We're not bullshitting, talking about stupid shit. So I'm glad you guys are in here. You guys, come on up, speak. Let's talk about anything you want.
I wanted to mention real quick that Colm Keller has said that he has seen evidence of human tampering with some of the cattle.
Yeah, didn't they find metal, some kind of a gauge syringe under a couple of the bodies? Not necessarily all, but yeah, that's what I figured. So I know that there are some unexplainable things, definitely unexplainable. I know if you go by Skinwalker Ranch, Colm and George Knapp right in there, and they talk about different cases where literally the farmers a couple hundred yards away after just checking cattle, and then it's gone. They come back, it's been, just gutted, dead, whatever, it's tongue. I can't remember what parts were taken. So, but that being my point. And I would also, because you guys brought up the whole, I guess you would say, infectious disease type thing. I would consider anomalous injury also the hitchhiker effect. Something to that. And I'll say that one of the people that I'm going after right now that I'm trying to get an interview with to talk to is Jay Stratton, Axelrod. I'm working my ass off. Everybody that I know, I'm trying my hardest to try to get something like that because he talks about that, him and his wife, when he went to Skinwalker, what happened when he came home. Does anybody else in here want to recite that, or you want me to tell you guys? I can tell you.
You want me to talk about the virus effect?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Deb.
So there's something called the hitchhiker effect that a lot of people who are here know about. And they treated it like it was a virus, and they studied it using models that you would study a virus or a contagion when they were trying to figure out why it was spreading. And it would spread beyond the family, it would spread into the neighborhood, it would spread from family members to their friends. And so it really was contagious. And other people have referred to this. It goes beyond that book. Even some of the older ufologists talked about it, but they used other terms. They called it like the poltergeist activity is what they would refer to it as. That would be a part of seeing a UAP.
Sorry, I'm actually trying to post that paper real quick. Deb, take over for 1 second so I can post the crash retrievals and shit.
Yeah, so I think another thing, I'm just going to throw this out there, is someone noted that the Space Force wasn't in the report and they kind of got left out. So that's another thing that kind of stood out for me about the report. I know that's not the topic for today, but I thought I'd just bring that up because it was interesting. Does anyone have any questions while we wait for Shane to stop goofing off with whatever he's goofing off with?
Just noting that I wasn't aware until the other day that Space Force is actually under, I think it's the Secretary of the Air Force. So the Secretary, I think it's the Secretary of the Air Force. There's two divisions, of course, the Air Force and then Space Force. So I didn't realize that they were sort of under another umbrella. And I just wonder if that might be a problem, being, of course, classically, the Air Force has been the least cooperative of all the different services for this topic.
What's interesting, though, is it's clear that the Air Force was involved with this report. So even though they're not publicly cooperative, they did supply information for the report. So that was positive. That was a positive takeaway. Did anyone else have an observation like those that they thought stood out from the report?
I guess maybe that it wasn't really a report. I mean, the first report actually had far more information than the second one. This one seemed to be more of telling everyone what they're going to do and how you write a report rather than actually any raw data. There really wasn't much to this at all. It was actually quite disappointing. But my understanding, listening back to when Daniel Sheehan was on with Jimmy Church, is that the office really wasn't functional at this point. So, and they're still using the verbiage there that pertained to the NDA from last year. So the new language really isn't being operationalized in this report. So hopefully the next time we get something, it'll be more substantial. But yeah, it was pretty weak.
And overdue. So I think that might have been a factor. It seems like they could have written it in one night, and they might have had to. And we knew that the office wasn't really fully together. Was it just like a few months ago? Like they were kind of saying, we're still pulling it together, and they were changing the name, and it was going back and forth, and they were like, okay, well, now we know who's going to be in it. These are some of the people that are going to be in it. So I feel like, yeah, it is probably not the most effective form of an investigation. And that could also be why health effects were left out. They might not have gotten to them. They might not have thought to follow up with some of these pilots, because I've also heard that even in the first report, there wasn't really follow up with people after their experiences.
Okay, yeah. Posted a couple things in there. One of them I put in the nest. Second thing I put in the nest. So I put an old Unsolved Mysteries of the Cash Land Remittance in, as well as I put a paper I found on academia.edu about crash retrievals and bodies, and I was just kind of going through it, and I was like, holy crap, if that was right, that's a lot compared to what I even thought of compared to Roswell. I mean, I know in my head, I know Roswell happened, right? So that's all I could think about is I imagine it's more frequent. But then what I don't get, it has to be theater. I mean, shit. These things are falling at the sky at that kind of out of the sky at that kind of frequency. I don't know what kind of a far advanced civilization does that. So I don't know. It's bait, I think, and because we're not taking it, it keeps happening. Maybe we're not saying they're here or something. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Deb?
Well, I can say that if they're using EM, which is where I'm going with it in my mind, to transport, move, whatever they're doing with it, and we know how to manipulate that, and obviously we do, then it is possible to take them down. Now, I don't think that's what's happening. I think that there's a lot of factors, but like for instance, in the case with the Russia incident where they claim they shot it down, they've supposedly been trying to do that for some time. So it really could have happened. Like if they directed energy weapon at these things, it could mess up something for them. I don't know. I'm on the fence about calling them advanced. I just think having better ships does not necessarily guarantee you're more advanced. It just means you have better ships.
Yeah, as we should say better tech. We shouldn't even say more advanced. Just better tech, perhaps, But it may not even be tech. I know I read somewhere that just because the way the universe works, we can assume that we have all the different elements that are in existence right here on this earth. The different variations of them, right? But that's not necessarily the case. And there's a technology tree we followed here that doesn't mean another civilization has to follow it. Rocket propelled on forward. It could be a matter of an element that gives you the power to manipulate gravity. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, I think if you want to, you can go down a lot of alleys with that. You could even go. It might be plants on their planet do things that ours don't. We don't even know. Like if it's a different planet. Like granted, I don't know that, but I'm just saying like there's so much on the table that we can't take off the table. But I just argue against saying that they're more advanced just because they have better ships or whatever. That's where I have a hard time because it's like saying Elon Musk is more advanced because he has a spaceship and his nice cars or whatever.
That's true. Just because I guess you got the luck of the draw on something, because a lot of it plays into it, right? So you're right about that. Ray, where's the hubby at tonight? She may not even be listening. We did an interview with Klaus.
Sorry, Shane, I'm here. I wasn't on the screen, but I'm listening. What's up? Sorry. Yeah, Klaus, he's in the house, not right next to me, but he's here. Is he needed?
Literally, or just whoop, whoop in the house?
Whoop whoop.
Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, and it makes sense too. So I've done a lot of spaces, a lot of interviews. I haven't done a single space that's got the kind of, I guess you would call live listens is the one with Klaus. My closest space to him, so my closest, tallest, I guess biggest space it's not that big a deal. It's 700 to 800 live listens. Klaus was like 3,800, something like that now. So people liked it. They enjoyed it. And because he puts time and effort to research. And I know it's hard for people to understand what research into this topic consists of, but you have to remove yourself from a lot of it. And some of it just gets so, like Deidre said a minute ago, like the rabbit holes get deep, dark, and wacky. I just ordered a book called Masquerade of Angels. And it's a different take on the whole topic of UAP. It's a evil take on encounters. It talks about different encounters that the topics we talk about. There's a lot of opposite and equal to, right? There's a lot of bad with the good. There's a lot of people saying some horrible things. So I'm going to read that and hopefully not soil myself while I do so. It was one of those hard to find, kind of little expensive ones, but someone recommended it. So I look forward to it. Maybe it'll take me a year to read it. It's that freaking scary. Because I see this stuff still. So I don't know if I want to even read shit and worry about that, right? Then I'll be paranoid.
I don't know if I could read something so scary. Like Klaus just posted something about a crazy tsunami, and I won't even read it. I get too spooked. I don't. There's something about a written word that's scarier to me. But you should link the book in the top anyway, because I kind of want to check it out. Not gonna own it though.
Oh well, I'll link it here in a second. Do me a favor, guys. Retweet the space real quick. I keep forgetting to do that. If you can, just kind of give it a retweet, let people know we're doing it, and we'll keep it going. Like I said, I'll give away a couple books tonight, at least Audible credits, or if you want a physical copy, I just need your email, so it's not that big a deal. So Sue got one. She won one night for being awesome. So I'm glad you guys are in here. Thank you for being up in here. I posted something in this, 2 things, Cash Landrum. I also posted the Academia EDU paper that's it's got a bunch of retrievals and stuff. Now I think I have a grain of salt, so I don't know much about that, but I do know, in my opinion, Roswell happened and the bodies ended up at Wright Pat. I mean, that would make sense as someone who served at that time. That's where they would have sent them, right? And I've heard multiple stories, and now I'm hearing from Christopher Sharp of the Liberation Times. He's got multiple sources saying that Holloman incident happened. And if you don't know what the Holloman incident is, this is going to get wild. So there's a snippet of film that exists from an incident that happened at Holloman Air Force Base. Supposedly a UAP came out of the sky. And when I say UAP, that's an overall general topic. That means UFO and everything besides. And they filmed the whole thing, but we get a snippet kind of seeing it from a distance. And supposedly this craft landed, and beings got out, entities, NHI, non-human intelligence, got out of this craft. And they were adorned, they were tall, kind of lengthy, almost human-like, but they had big kind of noses, longer noses, and they had some kind of almost Egyptian-like headdresses, okay? And they were then taken to have a meeting with the base commander, and I think it ended up with Eisenhower. Go ahead, Tech. You probably can fix what I just messed up.
No, that was the same research I had done, and apparently, I think it might have been Linda Moulton Howe that they originally had given the footage to, that they were going to do some kind of special. I don't remember what channel it was going to be released on, but at the last minute they rescinded the footage of the entities getting out of the craft. But that footage of the craft landing, apparently there was 3 craft, but the one landed, and apparently there's footage of that. You can see it on YouTube, I believe, and then there's some drawings that were done of the entities. And I've always said that was really interesting that they looked so Egyptian. That really got me thinking about the pyramids and all of that. So that to me was it seemed like there were some credible military folks that were saying that really happened, but they didn't obviously release the film with the actual entities getting out and speaking to the military associates on the ground.
It's actually a really good movie. It has had a couple name changes. It was made in the 70s, and it has a very, very young Valet in it, but it had some other really incredible pieces. So it was pictures that people took, and all of this was before digital. So it was just very good, like lots of footage. NASA, I think, was discussed. And it was kind of a different time when there was a little bit of cooperation. But I will say that the part that was Holloman, like, you really don't see much. You see like a little white dot, and it's like 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I saw when I looked at that footage, and it seemed like it was shot from pretty far away. So you just see it descending against the mountain backdrop, and then it cuts out after that. And supposedly the good footage was what happened immediately after that, which of course wasn't released. So,
which leads to some serious rabbit hole speculation, right? So if this happened, now let's keep kind of going with this, right? If this happened, then the Eisenhower meeting possibly happened, which maybe MJ12 is real. Doesn't mean the document is. Maybe MJ12 in some form or fashion is real, and possibly some of the gripings, and there's supposedly, and someone may be able to post a link. If you guys can, post links in here if you know of anything we're talking about. There supposedly was a NATO organization that had something to do with NHI, and they came across a craft that had body parts, human body parts in it, that weren't together and they weren't alive. Has anyone else in here heard that?
I haven't heard that, but I can tell you that just going through the FOIAs, some of the earlier accounts said that the entities that they saw inside the craft looked like humans, which was interesting.
Yeah, there was a woman who was on Joe Rogan's podcast that was talking about that, I believe. I don't remember who she was, but apparently she'd interviewed quite a few of these people that are on the supposed inside of these situations. And I think she was mentioning something about that there was humans, or it was something. It wasn't actual NHIs. It was supposedly humans, and it was some kind of experiment or something. I don't remember the full gist of it because I only caught a part of it. But I thought that was interesting too.
You know, that brings me back to what I said earlier about the cache land room. I know one incident report I read that she thought it was that. I'll also say you have I always call him Dr. Michael Masters. Every time, even call him that to his face, even while smoking weed with the guy. So Dr. Michael Masters has the book, Future Human Hypothesis, right? And he talks about him. It's two different versions of us. The Greys being a timeline version where some kind of catastrophe happens, where they end up basically mutating into that in some form. That's a shitty summary, but you know my point. And then there's ones that look almost indistinguishable from us. And they walk amongst us now, and they're trying to prevent this type of thing. So if Chase was not doing family shit like a bad person, he'd be posting this stuff. But I told him, you know what? I'll allow you to do family stuff tonight. So whatever, Chase. Hope he's having a good time. Anyway, those two hypotheses are actually, I talked to him at UFO Congress, and the name of his two books. Hey, Tech, what's the name? His first book's name is the extraterrestrial hypothesis. What's the first one? You know, Deb? I cannot remember.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that first book there.
I have recommended books.
Yeah.
If you give me a minute, I can go look it up.
Yeah, Shane, you know it was interesting though, to your point about that one of these races of NHIs look like humans. Have you ever seen the interviews that were done with Robert Dean? I'm sure a bunch of you have heard of Robert Dean. He was an older gentleman who's tall. He had like long gray ponytail. He's been on a lot of interviews, and he actually had said the same thing, that apparently there's at least five types of NHIs that are visiting the Earth, one of which looks so similar to us that we wouldn't be able to tell if it was sitting right next to us at like a coffee shop or a movie theater or something like that. I always found that was very disturbing and interesting at the same time. And it seems like I've heard other people in the UFO area said similar things. So I wonder if there's any credence that can be paid to that theory.
Hey, that's a good point, Tech. Thanks for co-hosting, guys. By the way, Deb and Tech. So I'll say, if you believe in convergent evolution, let me explain what that is. But that means people make a mistake when they think about evolution as it's a survival of the fittest, like whatever's the greatest survive. Not necessarily the case. And convergence just means multiple things develop, like basically come out with the same outcome, not because of any reason besides the fact that that's the most, I guess, perfect outcome for that species or whatever to survive, even though it looks quite similar. So being bipedal, possibly looking human, something along those lines. And you have the accounts of Whitley Strieber. He talks about in his letters, what was it, the communion letters? In one of the communion letters, a woman talks about while she was pregnant, she was visited by something, and it was a gray, is essentially, right? And she talks about how the gray sat over her and she was scared, and it kind of mentally set into her head, oh, why are you so scared? And she basically just told it, because you look crazy as shit, right? And then it kind of, I don't know, just kind of said, oh, we're you or you're us. You're gonna be looking like us along those lines. And there's multiple cases along the lines of stuff like that. Them speaking as if they've had a hand in our development. They're our gods, or they are us, just a different version of us.
Yeah, there's.
Well,
I was going to
go
say
ahead,
there
Deb.
are actually several stories about them being us, including the Mayans claiming it when RD6 Killer Clark interviewed people. And some people say that the other planets that they visit, experiencers say that the other planets have humans on them. So and then there's also this really interesting theory that there was like this race of humans, essentially, that's what we are, that was on Mars, and then some of them came here because Mars was failing. And that would explain a few things. So there's a lot of possibilities, but I wanted to let you know, I looked up the name of the book. It was Identified Flying Objects. So that was the first Michael Masters book.
And speaking a little further, Deb, about the thing with the genetic alteration, or Shane might have made that point. I also know that Bob Lazar had said that when he was, as part of his intake procedure at S4, as part of these files that he was shown, one of them had said that human beings were the result of genetic manipulation, and that there was 30 something modifications made to chromosomes of a hominid creature that existed back 100,000 years ago or so, and that timeline does kind of correlate to when we see a massive acceleration in intelligence in the human species, where we went however long there was proto-humans around, and then all of a sudden the brain mass of humans or what was Homo sapiens massively increased, which led to a rise in intelligence. I'm not saying it's definitively the case, but it's interesting that there is some overlap between that theory and that occurrence.
I find it interesting that there's overlap with that in the stories of mythology and the biblical stories of Nephilim coming and mating with humans or something. So you kind of wonder, like, what were our ancestors trying to tell us about these sky beings coming, interacting with us? And, it reminds me also of the story of Prometheus, who came and gave us fire. And even, some people are going to freak out, but the comparison story is, I believe it was Lucifer did something with humans and got in trouble. And that's why he was a fallen angel, because he was trying to, he gave us intelligence, with the tree of life and the apple and all that. So he got in trouble. So there's a lot of stories that have to do with some more intelligent being making us more intelligent by mating with us or interacting with us and giving us this intelligence.
Let me ask you this. So if that's the case, we've got DNA that we call junk DNA we can't explain. It's just like a human. They call it junk because you can't explain it, right? And I know a lot of people point to that.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, that's the whole thing. Just because we don't understand its function doesn't mean that it's junk, right? It's just unknown currently as to what's going on there. And it's just very interesting how all these different cultures are basically saying the same thing in their own way. That's appropriate for the mythology and the teachings of their particular environment or culture. It sounds like there's an archetype, something underlying, some shred of truth that everyone's trying to say. It would be interesting, or it would be great. Definitively is, but that's going to take a while. As of this report that was just released a couple days ago, they're not laying all their cards on the table so quickly as of yet.
Why do you think that is? Anybody on the panel?
I wonder sometimes, since their whole narrative is the threat narrative, why would they address anything that might appease some of our ideas, right? Like, because what they really want to do is discuss the threat narrative, because that's what the military does. That's what
Why?
they're paid to do.
Why does it benefit them to make it seem like a threat?
Because otherwise, why would they get paid to take care of it? If it's not a threat, they're not going to be needed for that. They're not, like galactic social workers.
I saw Kyle jump up here after I said that, so let's see if he's got the answer. And that's pretty close, and I'll tell you why. Go ahead, Kyle. Did you have something you wanted to say to that question, or did you just chop it up?
I think that there's one reason why it'll never come out is because you'd have to rewrite history.
Rewrite history. Yep, they have to admit to lying.
You just took the words right out of my mouth, Shane. That's the big kicker, I think, right there, is that they have to admit to not only lying. I mean, this is not just a little fib
they
saying,
suck as well.
Yeah, man, they're
They
basically
can't
saying,
or save us from shit.
that's right. We can't do anything, and they've been withholding this information that could advance humankind for as long as they've known about it. That would be very bad for the powers that be. Let's put it that way.
I'm more concerned that they're worried about getting sued. If they put people in the line of a UAP and they do end up having some medical issue, they might have a lot of Burroughs cases on their hands.
Yeah, and wasn't it interesting report? It seemed to indicate that there were no reports of any injuries. But the interesting thing is that's not what Gary Nolan's saying. So I was in a space last night and I was saying, we were discussing the same topic. One of the two was not telling the truth there, right? Because Gary Nolan's discussed how there were injuries, and now the government's saying they're gonna investigate potential injuries, but as of now there haven't been any reports of that. But that, according to these other people, that's not the case. So that could be part of it too.
Hey, what's up, Michael? Go ahead, buddy. And looking forward to seeing you soon in Roswell.
Hey, it's coming up quickly, isn't it? Good evening, everyone. I love looking at that up in the Jumbotron and seeing Aztec right there in the middle as just proof positive of the things that I've been speaking of. I took a screenshot of that and sent that to Scott and Suzanne Ramsey and gave them a big heads up as to what's going on out over here. As a former legalman in the Navy, I learned something from some of the JAG officers that I worked with. And everybody's probably heard that cliche saying, you can sue a ham sandwich, but what are you going to get out of it? You can sue the U.S. government till you're blue in the face, but you're not going to get anything from them, ever. And it's highly unlikely that anybody could hire a lawyer that be bold enough to take on a lawsuit like that. But day by day, we're learning more about what we're all here about, and that's disclosure. I don't know when and if we'll get more, but I do know that national security comes first in the eyes of the people that are controlling disclosure. And until they can figure out how they can do it without egg all over their face, they're going to withhold the pertinent things that we want to hear. And the thing I want to hear more than anything is how they farmed out ideas and technology to be studied and replicated around the world, not just here in the United States, not just Bigelow, not just Lockheed, not just Boeing, around the world, because there's a lot of players, I think, that are involved in that part of the cover-up, the technological part of the cover-up. Thank you.
And how ironic that they're so concerned about, and I agree with your points, especially about the concern about national security and all that. But by virtue of what's being reported, the fact that these things are flying in protected airspace and over nuclear weapons and all of that, they were already violating our airspace. So it seems to me, and if the stories are like that Robert Salas and all of them have said are to be believed, which is that they have the ability to basically instantaneously shut down all of our nuclear arsenal, or at least at a particular launch site. We don't have control. They could basically do whatever they wanted, and if they had some type of nefarious scheme that they were planning to invade the world, wouldn't they have kind of already done it already? I don't know.
I don't know.
True.
I don't know if
Good
they would have
point.
done it yet. It could be that they're on a very different time scale than we are, and they could be doing reconnaissance, because that's what it sounds like they're doing.
You know what?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tech.
No. Go ahead, Shane. No problem.
This is why I'm still having my experiences and record them and shit like that, but I don't say it's negative or positive. I may have PTSD from my experience, but it doesn't. Sidney Van talks about, and here's his quote. Matter of fact, his quote came from one of my favorite podcasts, Calling All Beans. They're fucking with us, right? So that's why I always tell people when they say, hey, I know for a fact they're this. They told me this. How do you know they're not lying? So the other 9,000 experiencers that have completely different stories, they're just, maybe there's some that are different. How do we know any of that? But people make pretty big assumptions about this, that they almost treat them almost like they're other humans. And they do kind of treat them. There's a lot of, I think part of the government's problem, they're worried about cults developing around this shit. And that's a serious worry. I could see that. And with my experience, I see it almost like a spiritual thing. Like it still blows me away from the way it happened. But I could see people like that, the Heaven's Gate and stuff like that ended up happening. That's a big thing for the government. They're worried about mass chaos. What do you guys think?
That's like the movie Contact. There was that cult that formed up in Contact. I think Gary Busey's son was like the leader of it in there. But yeah, I think that's a valid concern. But one last thing I just wanted to say, Shane, I think looking at the data and like where these sightings keeps occurring, that to me, they obviously have some type of interest in this in nuclear technology. You've got the Trinity incident that Jacques Vallée had originally reported with that avocado, I guess they said, shaped craft that supposedly crashed right by the Trinity test site where we had the first nuclear weapon fission reaction there. You've got all of these sightings, like I said, about like Robert Salas. You've got the incident over in Rendlesham. I believe there was nuclear weapons at the Rendlesham base. I could be wrong on that, but I thought that I heard that there was. And even some of the things that you've recorded, Shane, you said a lot of those were recorded by Hanford, right?
Yeah, I lived near Hanford, and Rendlesham actually, yes, had nukes.
So
we didn't know it then, but we know it now. I mean,
Hanford, I don't have to tell you, Hanford has got a massive, massive repository of plutonium and tailings and all kinds of stuff from when they were developing during the Manhattan Project. So I just think it's very interesting that you can plot all of these sightings, and they seem to have a very keen interest in nuclear technology, be it for power production or weapons.
I think.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the battle groups, of course, have some nuclear aspects to them also. And I think the aerial school incident happened near a uranium mine is what people have been saying.
Lou Elizondo said that, I think.
Good points. I'll say that Hanford is a super fun site. I'll also say that I know that I read, where was it? One second, let me think. I read, I don't remember what the hell it was. So that these incidents, along with nukes, right? Let me ask you this question, panel. Let's wipe that, what I was going to say. So all the speakers, anybody in the room, you're welcome to speak at me in the thread, whatever. Do you think that they're trying to tell us something? Do you think they're trying to stop us? Do you think they're just doing scouting for what? Because if you're an enemy, now this is coming from a human-centric perspective, right? Okay, so you're going to be kind of probing, touching things, figuring out where the weak spots and all these types of things are. because there are incidents with nuclear reactions or nuclear reactors, nuclear facilities of any type. You got, like he just brought up earlier. But I'll also go further to say I think it could be a possible elemental, because there's natural places where things like these exist. Not necessarily those type of reactions. I know they found an actual natural reaction, but the elements. I think the elements have something to do with it. And I know that please don't say that economist Stanton Friedman had a postulation, a hypothesis, and he calls it the precious metal hypothesis. And he talks about because Earth is overly abundant in the gold and noble metals. I happen to be a prospector, so I love gold and noble metals. Live in Washington State, so I also experience these, whatever this is, in all these places, and possibly maybe it's a matter of they're here for that. It could be because look at the elemental structure of the unit. Was it Utah? I'll just say down there where Vernal is, right?
That was the point I was just going to make about. Sorry, Deb. I was just going to say quickly about Skinwalker Ranch. Is that apparently I don't remember what it was, but there's a high there apparently was the basin could be potentially from a meteor impact, and there was a high percentage of some type of an element there. So that could take credence to that theory as well.
I was just going to say there's also a lot of radiation still there because it was basically right near the triangle of land where all of those experiments with the nuclear bombs were happening. So, but I was just going to point out that if you read Cheryl Costa and Linda Costa's book, she identifies some things that amplify the sightings that people have. And honestly, there are a lot more than people realize. It is definitely not just near nuclear. But if you read her information, essentially it's if you are outside looking up, then you increase your chance of seeing a sighting. So it's those are the ones that are reported, the ones near the nuclear stuff, of course, because there's concerns related to safety. And civilians probably see them all the time and don't report. But the point is, it's a little bit more than just the nuclear.
Thanks, Deb. What's up, J-Dog?
Hey, yeah, so to chime in, I don't think they're here for our natural minerals. If you could traverse, light years to come here from a distant planet, you would be able to do that, throughout the solar system, the galaxy. So they would be able to get the natural resources they need pretty easily without having to go to a populated planet and make them expose themselves. However, I do think they are here for another natural resource which can't be found on any other planet, which is our genome, our genetics, our the biology here, things that don't grow on other planets.
Those are good points. Really good points. And I actually I really agree with them. So thank you for that, J-Dog. If they had the ability to do all that stuff, why would they need to come here for that? Why do you think they are here, J-Dog? Besides, go a little more in depth.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories out there that, they've through evolution, they've kind of cooked up themselves to the point where they can't reproduce because they don't have male and female, parts. And so now they have to reproduce by incubating a womb artificially in order to create the next thing. But they would do that with a lot of other critters that they come across and just keep manipulating the genome in order to come up with the next perfect. I don't think they necessarily want the next perfect thing, because if you're the dominant species, you wouldn't want another dominant species coming out of an incubator that could eventually just, to wipe you out. You don't know what you're dealing with. But I would say they do want to be able to potentially use our genome to crossbreed. That's been kind of, well documented that this is what they're interested in. They would rather it happen naturally through a crossbreed species than through an incubating process. But as far as like natural resources like minerals, which are abundant throughout the galaxy, they would have they would easily be able to mine that, and they would do it in a place where, you know, it wouldn't be populated by a civilization, so that they wouldn't have to, like, you know, make themselves known and then cause all kinds of chaos and on and on and on. I still don't quite understand by now why they haven't, you know, made themselves known. We see their craft all the time everywhere, and it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, eventually by now you should have at least, you know, landed on the White House lawn. Doesn't quite make sense why they're still kind of elusive, but yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that. And I will say before we get over to who was it? I think it was Michael next. Before we get over to Michael, though, I'll say that I think it plays into what Keel talks about. Valet, it's some kind of a control system, manipulation, small manipulation over the years. I just ordered a couple books about that too as well. So let's get over to Michael real quick, and then we'll move over to Smith.
I think part of the reason they don't reveal themselves is they can read our minds. They see the violent type of people that we are. They don't want to get blown away by some crazy veteran with a AR-15, right? But I've been listening intently. I've been carrying on a conversation on Facebook Messenger with Scott Ramsey, trying to drum up that interest that we talked about in kicking off another round of the Aztec UFO Symposium. He sent me his phone number, and I got to call him in the morning to talk about it, since he's such a great researcher and would be such an asset to have him as I think as a master of ceremonies for something like this, because of the knowledge, the firsthand interviews that he had with many of the survivors and their children. But thanks to UFO Twitter and all the hard work that many of you have done, this thing may be a dream, but like that girl said, Michael, you're a dreamer, and it's good to be a dreamer because we can do this. And with the help from Shane, with you, Deb, and others, I think we can put on a symposium that'll match all the others, because this is one of the places where it really got popular after Roswell. As I look around my home, I find different bookmarks that have information on them of the different speakers that were here. And I know in talking to many of them, they would love to come back. And I know that many of you would love to come here to know the terrain, the idea of how it went all these miles before it seemingly landed without totally destroying the UFO. And this room tonight, there's so much information that points back to crash retrieval and crash recovery. And we're getting the truth about that. Now we need the truth about technology. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, David.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Go ahead, Smith.
Hey, old vet. Appreciate the Old Vets UFO Symposium. That's cool. I'm real new to UAP Twitter, UFO Twitter. Go ahead and give me a follow if anyone is out there who is listening on a daily basis, because my goal is just to have this, you know, at night I can tune in and there's always a space. So appreciate to see the regulars out here, tech tweets, study of UAPs, and J-Dog, like listening to you speak. Hey, Rafi, Red Panda's here. Hey, Ocean, and Andrew, and Chris Dale. So I remember those faces, those people. So there's a lot of other people. I'll follow you back. Want to be in these spaces, and really appreciate it, because I don't know. I've been watching this stuff for years, and I was coming out. I'm out here for mental health, and of course, you know, now that I'm making friends out here, UAP, UFO people are always welcome in the Purple People mental health spaces because that's what I host. And to me, this is a legitimate topic concerned with mental health, And when I was out here meeting people, it was, who was it? UFO Shane, Turtle of Time, and other people who were saying Ocean had left. Oh, there she is. Hey, Ocean. I don't want to dive off topic because, but someone had said, and I won't do it, but someone had said, yo, you need to talk to Old Vet Symposium. And I was like, oh, cool. So I reached out, we tagged each other, and I'm really glad to see you're hosting a space. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. And because the thing I had mentioned was something of an esoteric topic, but out here our minds are open. And I had mentioned recently how, it's something akin to the meditation communities I'm part of out here, where I don't run into a brick wall so quickly, I don't run into the judgment so quickly. I receive open minds, and you know what? It's one thing I can say about the UAP UFO Twitter community is that it's more nuts and bolts than I thought, and it's really great because a lot of the meditation communities are lacking the nuts and bolts aspect, their pure consciousness, and I think that because sometimes I come out here as a meditator. I mean, I'm a veteran and I came from a mainstream background, but someone's like, okay, with the woo woo, and I'm like, whoa, because a lot of my friends think I'm a hippie now, but hippies don't think I am. You know what I mean? So I think that we're getting sick of this. My team is the good guy paradigm, pure blue, pure red type thing, and we're just looking at truth, like discovering the truth, no matter how uncomfortable that is. To me, that's really what matters. So I'm really grateful for this community and how nice everyone's been. I was really, I don't want to be offensive, but like shocked. Like I was like, this is amazing. Everyone is so nice. And people are telling me because I say, oh, I'm a cult leader. But y'all listen to my spaces and you'll see, we talk about cults, we talk about intentional communities. I'm into permaculture and sustainable living. I'm a clown and shit like that. So I'm kind of an out there guy anyway. So go ahead and follow me if you want to help me out with getting some spaces. I really appreciate so much this community. So I'm going to keep coming. And J-Dog, I won't make you wait any longer, my friend. Peace and love.
Go ahead, J-Dog, and I got something to say.
Well done, and I appreciate your sentiments. That was excellent what you said there. Well thought. My quick thought here, and I'll leave you with this as quickly as I possibly can. You have to wonder why we haven't had contact, like actual contact. I mean, we all see the UFO videos. We look up. Sometimes we see them. I've seen 2 really close up, and you have to say to yourself, well, they're here. They're obviously here. But why haven't they made themselves introduce themselves in a matter of speaking? That could be because this is going to get a little far out, but I'm just going to say it because I trust this group here, is that there's a 1,200-year cycle where the Earth goes through some radical changes, and it's so devastating that a lot of the population on the surface gets wiped out, and there are a few survivors in the end, and we get thrown back into the Stone Age. And those few survivors have to go, literally recreate technology again from nothing. And this happens apparently over and over and over. It's an Earth cycle. And the UFOs that we see could be very well aware of this and just waiting, saying like, okay, well, we've created a new hybrid that we want to repopulate after the devastation, so once the next one, and apparently we're real close, like within like the next 20 years, we are going to see this like drastic change to the surface of the Earth. And there's a good book out there, Adam and Eve, something or other, and it goes into how that goes down. Basically, if the Earth tilts, the polar, like the polar shift happens, it winds up sending the Earth wobbling to the point where maybe it stops, right? The crust stops. but the wind and the oceans still keep going at 1,000 miles an hour because the Earth rotates at 1,000 miles an hour. So you have 1,000-mile-an-hour wind, and you have oceans moving at speed of sound. That wipes everything off the freaking planet, right? So they may be sitting around waiting for this to happen, knowing that it's coming soon, and saying, well, we'd like to repopulate this next generation with the hybrid that we've created to make a better society. And they're just that could be a theory. It's a complete theory. I know it sounds like asinine. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, why wouldn't they just come down now? Unless they're waiting for something. They're clearly waiting for something. So with that, I concede my time.
Wow, J-Dog, what a synchronicity. I literally just finished that book yesterday. No shit, I never even heard of it, and I saw it somewhere, and it was out of print, and I found a PDF, and I literally just finished that shit, and I was kind of blown away to the point that I was like, wait, what the fuck? And I had to do more research to make sure it wasn't 100% accurate because I was kind of shitting my pants on it, right? And I'm like, oh shit, we got a pull shift happening right the frick now. So yeah, what a crazy coincidence. I literally yesterday never even heard of it until I think last week. So thanks for coming in here talking about that shit. What's up, Smith?
Oh, not much. Just an offhand comment. I just want to say, J-Dog, like what he's saying, well said, J-Dog, in such an even-handed manner. And that's something that I appreciate about the community, just the even-handedness and unexpected. Things have evolved, and I can't have these conversations. I can't even hear them. Where can I hear these conversations? Where can I hear people talk about this stuff, There's so much stigma. And again, that's why I mentioned the cult aspect, because when I said that, people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I've never had that hot button reaction until I came into UAP, because a lot of the people who are just looking up in the sky, being critical thinkers, because oh my God, like, wow, it might be amongst all those stars that there might be something out there. Give me a break. You know what I mean? It just shows how primitive we are. And I think that, again, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful I can hear these voices, because it's not something I can talk about or even hear about in normal life. There's such a brick wall against it. So I'm just fucking grateful. Hey, Ocean.
Go ahead, Emily, and I'll get to you in a second, Smith. I have a couple things I want to say. Glad you're in here, though, Smith.
Hey,
What's up, Emily?
y'all. I'm so happy that you guys found each other and you're chatting, because, yeah, Smith, we met, of course, here busting my pig. I met Smith the other day, and I was like, if you don't know Old Vet Shane, then you should, because, yeah, I think you guys are going to be BFFs no time for sure. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so I was going to say I think there's a difference between, like, simply asking, like, what the heck's going on, like, and questioning the way things are, and, like, being super rude to people, right? And I think this is where it kind of gets muddied sometimes, because people will ask, like, well, what about this? What about that? Are you being honest? Can I see some, evidence or whatever? And they just get tied in with people that are, like, being super, super rude or, like, aggressive towards, like, people or whatever. But I'm just saying there's no harm in asking, and I think the government should never be mad about people questioning them, right? Like, it should be like, thank you for keeping us all safe, right? So, I did read that, like, UAP report thing that came out, and it kind of just sounds like, what do y'all call it? A nothing burger? Is that what it's called? There's just, I don't know. They didn't really say a whole lot, but they did say what did they say? They did use, like, a term. Help me, Shane. What is it?
Wait, you talking about entities? When they said the balloon entities?
Yes, the balloon entities.
Yeah.
From now on, anytime. Anyway, I won't go there. I'm just saying that I think that's as close as we got to, like, the UAP phenomenon is kind of just that term.
I made
there.
some with AI today. I made balloon entities and I put them on Instagram.
You should post them in the nest.
I think I did tweet the link to the Instagram. So it's in my Twitter if anyone wants to find it. But yeah, I was just like, Okay, well, they used to use balloon all the time. We know that the NSA files are ridiculous. Almost all the UFO files are da 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 da, probably a balloon. Da 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 da, probably a balloon. It's like a staple that they use. So I'm not really surprised we got something like balloon entities from the government.
But I did want to mention too, all week I've been manifesting the lottery. It got carried over. It's 55 million now. So if I say we because it's us, if we win, we're just going to go figure it out for ourselves. I think 55 million is more than enough for us to brainstorm some ideas to get in touch with the phenomenon, or even just, I don't know, find Atlantis. That was another thing we were going to do right away. So that too. But I'm so happy to be a part of this conversation and hear y'all, and I'll just shut up and listen now.
I posted a balloon entity from my point of view in this thread. I see a lot of new faces in here. Maybe I should probably kind of give a summary of why mental health is important to me, why this subject is important to me, and why they both intertwine. So, about 2018, I think Wounded Warrior Project kind of stepped in with my family life, and I got some help. I'm a combat veteran. I was pretty sick with PTSD. 2020, I went back in for mental health type purposes, just to kind of top off. I'd been a homeless addict at my lowest, but I've been clean since 2018 and left that mental health treatment in 2020. And then I got home, and then the pandemic happened. I lived near Hanford nuclear sites in Washington State, and that's the Yakima Valley. So I spent a lot of time outside. If you're someone who spent their life, I was a decorated veteran when I got out, 10 years service, 3 tours, but I was also a piece of shit when I got sick. I did the things that I probably should never have, and I feel guilt and shame about today to feed this habit, right? I survived it, I'm here, and I talk about those things. Well, when you're supposed to be getting better, and you are getting better, but you're also seeing UAP, people around you not necessarily thinking you're getting better. They think you're getting worse. It wasn't just a one-time thing. For me, it's still going. I've got so many videos. My family now sees them on their own. It's been 3 years now, continuous. Everywhere I go, I don't know what it is. I don't claim to know what it is. I claim to know that I have zero goddamn clue what it could be. It could possibly be humans spending tons of money and time to drive me crazy and to harass me, but that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that something I don't understand goes places that I go, and it knows that I'm there with that, and it always knows when I'm out. I can't begin to explain it. It sounds crazy, and that's where I come to this point. Currently, I'm a part of this organization called UAP Med. Deb is also, Ted Rowe, a bunch of people, and there's a reason. Mental health professionals, medical professionals, don't necessarily take this topic seriously. We don't tell people, hey, go here to get help. What we do is we try to reach out to these professionals and give them, hey, this shit's real. You may be giving people medication that don't need it. You may be putting people on a 3-day hold that don't need it, because that happens. I was in a marriage counselor with my wife because this shit was so crazy. I'm telling you, people will tell you time and time again, divorces happen over the UAPs because you start to see things, right? And people around you aren't seeing them, so they begin to question you. I told this counselor, I said, hey, I just wish she took an interest in whatever it is I'm seeing. I'm a combat veteran in the United States Air Force. I know what aircraft are. These aren't aircraft. That's all it was. And since then, she has, because now they show themselves to her, so she kind of shitting herself. But the doctor, when I told her, I got videos of them, blah, 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 she didn't give a shit. She said, well, I don't want to see you guys. I can't see you again until you have a psych eval. Didn't matter what I had to show her or what I knew. Automatic thing was psych eval. So that's one of the many times that I thought to myself, oh, you don't mention this, you don't talk about this, it's just the thing, it doesn't happen because we're not there yet. And so I'm very particular about this. What's up, Tech? I gotta get you back up here, dude.
Oh, and yeah, Shane, thanks obviously for sharing all that and your major everything you've been doing for this whole community. It's awesome, well appreciated. And I wanted to ask a question. Have you noticed that there seems to be a correlation too between either people who have experienced traumatic events or traumatic occurrences that happen throughout the world and increased frequency or sightings of the phenomenon. Has anyone else seemed to notice that? I think that there is
Can
something
I
there.
comment on that? Yeah, so one thing we need
Yeah.
to consider is that if someone is experiencing a lot of trauma or stress, they might just have hyper awareness as a preservation, and that might be why they're seeing the phenomenon as a result of that. That's a possibility.
That's true, and that I actually didn't even think of that. I was thinking too along the lines of, you know, if you listen to some of the more esoteric theories and all out there, is that there's a theory or a school of thought that says these things seem to feed off of fear or negative energy. We've probably talked about it before. The concept of something like loosh that Bob Monroe from the Monroe Institute had talked about. I wonder if there's something to do with that as well.
You mean the whole Gnosticism thing? That kind of scares me. That's Isn't that where the so here's a quick and I guess summary for people. If you don't know what Gnosticism is, a quick to the day point of it would be Stranger Things. Dim urges, it gets crazy, right? And that's a thing. That's a hypothesis, and people in the government consider this as something. So, would you like to talk a little bit more about Gnosticism, Tech?
Well, I mean, I don't know so much about Gnosticism, but in terms of this whole philosophy, if you look at it as like levels on a food chain, right? Biological organisms, as they increase in complexity, they typically rise up higher on the food chain. Well, it is possible that there's something else higher up on the quote food chain um, than us that doesn't harvest us for our physical body, but perhaps some of the mental, psychic, whatever you want to call it, spiritual energy that radiates off. And perhaps when it's most in times of stress or bad occurrences, perhaps it's strong, or I don't know. There's a higher level of emittance of it, and that potentially draws them in. Just like we have cattle that we basically harvest, so to speak, for food. Potentially, humans or conscious entities could be being utilized as a food source, so to speak, for these.
You use the term loosh. Would you like to kind of tell people what loosh is exactly? I know you said food source, but some people might not understand what loosh is. So, or I can if you don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Shane.
So Gnosticism, what he's talking about, it's negative emotions, trauma, things like that. That's what they feed off of. So we could be cattle in a way we don't understand. And that's one of many hypotheses about the subject. And I'm actually, right now, I'm posting. So after the fact, right, before I went over to Tech, I was talking about my experience where I'm at. Through a series of synchronicities, I find a book, experience after experience, right? Yakima Valley is a hot spot, like tops in the nation. King County and Yakima County are tops in the nation every year. The Yakima Nation, what's the Indian Nation here, has been talking about Indian portals and balls of light. The same balls of light I'll be posting in a second that I've been recording for years. And I see them at Rainier. I see them, everywhere I go. And I've also, bear with me, people, because this is going to be a crazy ass ride. I also think Bigfoot's a thing. And I think those two things are together a thing. And I say that because I never believed in any of this shit to 2020. And I've recorded stuff and seen footprints in this area. Again, I'm Washington State, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, these type of places. I've recorded vocalizations. And I remember thinking at the time, humans were fucking with me. It has to be humans doing this because who else would do it, right? And now that I'm a little more open-minded and think, okay, maybe I'm missing something here. What's up? Was it Smith first?
It was, but J-Dog, if you have a burning desire, go ahead.
No, I think I beat you by that, Smithy.
Right on.
By a second. But yeah, I agree with you, as Shane. Yeah, Bigfoot. I mean, I for not sounding crazy, but I 100% agree with you. We do have a species of primate that is that is here. They're not as big a population. They're very elusive. They're very, very, very acclimated to, the environment which I live in, which is usually a deep forested area or somewhere that is easily to camouflage and hide. They don't seem to be a culture where they necessarily group together and work together, and build any kind of structures. They're more kind of like animals where they forage, and therefore they're harder to spot because they don't have a base camp, so to come across if you're just a hunter walking through the woods and come across these things. They're quite elusive. They're obviously intelligent, but they clearly do not. They're not monogamous, from what I understand, but they may be. To a degree, they seem to be like every other species, very attentive to their young, their offspring. They let you know when you trample on their ground, but they tend to leave nothing behind. They don't start fires. They don't. The only thing we seem to be able to find from our bones from a meal or their footprints, their tracks, and
Don't forget
so
the
yeah,
stick
I don't think you're
structures.
crazy. Yeah, stick structures. I don't think you're crazy. I think it is actually a real thing. So with that, I concede my time.
Thank you, J-Dog. Go ahead, Smith.
Yes, I was waiting and waiting. This is the moment. Because when I was in the spaces, I remember, it might have been Ocean actually, because as soon as I mentioned, I had waited, I was like, what should I say? But I had watched the Bigfoot UFO documentary, which is about a year and a half old. And for me, I grew up learning about cryptids. I was into the Loch Ness Monster and stuff like this. And, a lot of times you want it to be true. So it's hard to remain objective. But for me with Bigfoot, it was, we would have found pieces of it. We'd find more of them. That's what I thought. But then it seems so obvious. But once you venture into the UAP world, if you consider that this is an ET, it makes so much. For me, all of a sudden, I was like, wow, it's actually a possibility again. Because if they're turning into these orbs, etc., which is what we're seeing, okay? Again, calling back to like angels, when people believed angels were floating through the forest, fairies, right? These little orbs. And now we're seeing, again, I think that's such a paradigm shift from UFO to UAP, not just because of the stigma, but because of the change, the shift in the terms of from hardware to consciousness, that there's high strangeness, etc. And so I watched the doc, and I thought that it was really interesting, the idea of these portals. And then Missing 411 came out. I mean, at least for me, the idea of portals seems to make, I was joking with my friend. I was like, yeah, I'll just make friends with these Bigfoot and just go portal to portal. And for me, it was a big joke. But then Stanton Friedman was in the doc. And Stanton Friedman, for those who don't know, a lot of people in this community know Stanton Friedman, but he was one of the dry guys. He was like, he had credentials, and he was the first one to put like let's look at the data. He was in the opposite direction of woo woo completely. But then in that doc, they had a piece of footage about him when they mentioned Bigfoot. He was talking about how, number one, it blew my mind. He said he said something about how that these creatures do exist, okay? Not necessarily in the form that we think. He didn't quite say, okay? But then he said, which made sense to me, the idea that an ET species that was more like us, evolved from an ape-like creature, would be able to relate to us and do, as he said, the heavy lifting in terms of evolving humanity. And when I came in, we were talking about, these repeated cycles of destruction that occur, supposedly, and that's why we can't, however many iterations we've had of humans trying to advance the technology enough to not be completely destroyed, and the ETs are watching over us type thing, trying to evolve us. So that's the moment, Old Vet Symposium, when I don't remember who, but it might have been Ocean, who said, hey, you need to talk to this guy. So I would love to hear what you have to say about all that. Because some people believe that they're like, that they're just, that there's no ET connection. But I don't know. For me, at this point, if there's no ET connection, then it doesn't seem like it makes sense. You know what I mean?
I'll say this real quick. We got a lot of hands going. So I'll say that there's a case from the 1970s. It takes place in California. I want to say it's close to Mount Shasta. Everything happens close to Mount Shasta there, right? Some hunters where they had put up a not allowed, I guess you place for them to sleep. They used a bunch of sticks and shit like that. For years, they recorded vocalizations that no one's been able to decipher from coming from a species we understand. But at the same time, what most people don't understand, they were having high strangeness. They were also continuously seeing orbs. Orbs or plasma balls, whatever you want to call it. They were seeing UAPs in the sky at the same time this was happening. Dorothy Isaac talks about this in her book, and they talk about it in the documentary. While the light beings take her in the craft, she sees Bigfoot. He's there with them, and then at one time, supposedly, and hopefully this gets released, she has a recording, 8mm recording. And Dorothy Isaac has like 30,000 feet or hours of recordings of 8mm of this stuff, right? A Bigfoot running alongside it. They're one and the same. And one of the reasons I say that is if you take skinwalkers at the Pentagon, Skinwalker Ranch, right? They talk about the portals. They talk about dogmen coming out of the portals. And then Axelrod, Jay Stratton talks about a dogman that his wife sees when he gets infected, right? So this could all be intertwined. I think it is a control system. So who was next in here? I'm sorry, guys.
It was probably me because I had a few things I wanted to say. I never really got to say what I think is going on, and it kind of connects to this. I'm inclined to think there's lots of things going on, and one of the things is experimentation, and that some of those experiments might get left here. And it's almost like we're a trolley stop or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I definitely think Bigfoot is actually a hybrid because they have done some DNA apparently, and supposedly there's an indication that it's partly human. So there is a chance that they are another experiment. And the more I study this, the more I find out it's not just Bigfoot and UAPs that connect. It's pretty much all of the paranormal, and that includes other cryptids, not just Dogman, but like, people don't talk about them that much, but like the little entities that people have been seeing for centuries with like a bajillion different names, like gnomes and pixies and fairies, they're also seen with Bigfoot. They're also seen with UFOs. So everything seems, in my opinion, to be connected, and I would not be surprised if we found out that we're all experiments. And also, I'm inclined to think that these non-human intelligence with the fancy tech might be living here, not so much leaving that much. There might be some that just live here. This is their outpost.
Who was next?
I believe I had
that was me.
after. Oh no, I think I was after, but I'll be quick. Going back to why haven't we found the bones of a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or a Yeti or this and that? You have to picture that this is an animal, a species that is very, very, very strong, right? Extremely strong. So they would, and they're wise, they're smart, they're very camouflaged. They're hard to find. They're hard. If we do spot them, we only get a quick look at them and then they dart off and disappear into the foliage. This is an animal that would bury its dead probably in an area where they wouldn't want their dead to be found. And so what I would assume is they would maybe put heavy, heavy stones above the burial grave, such that it'd be hard for us if we weren't looking for it in a high mountainous area to to excavate with a heavy stones above the burial grave. They could be down there in mass, but we don't ever excavate at higher elevations where huge pieces of stone may be placed over the grave, because it would be like, well, why do that? Nobody would do that. It doesn't make any sense unless it was overtly obvious that it was placed there artificially. It didn't land there naturally. So this could be why we don't find the graves of these animals, these species. And with that, I conclude.
Right here by where I live is the home of the Aztec crash. And about a decade ago, I ran into some friends of mine that I was raised with that I've known most of my life. And they knew that I was into the UFO thing from the symposium days, but they started asking me about Bigfoot. And I told them, no, I hadn't seen anything like that. Well, out where the Aztec crash is a famed mountain bike trail called the UFO Bike Trail. And they had, at one time, I think it was in April, because it had been warmer weather when they had the alien run. And it was a midnight run. And they had a 5-man team, and they were out there practicing. And they had a spot that they had already pre-planned to stop and take a break, drink some water, smoke a little bit, and then get back to riding. And they encountered that stench that many people have smelled on a close encounter with Bigfoot. And this is right in the area of the crash. And there's plenty of wildlife out there to sustain it. There's spring water out there, but there's also a river that, the way that we've known them to run, they could run across the hills and be there in no time at all and have fish and water, fresh water. But they saw something, and their eyes had adjusted to where they were, and they saw the silhouette of a Bigfoot and what appeared to be his hand on a branch. Well, many of us know that people disappear in the woods all over the world. And it's my contention that Bigfoot was getting ready to snatch one of those riders, because he didn't have his hand on that branch. He had that branch cocked. And when he realized that his hide and seek gig was over, he let go of it. And it snapped back into place, and that would have probably knocked somebody off their bike and probably left them unable to do anything, probably unconscious, because that was probably 4 or 5 inches around on the branch that he was holding on to, on a pinon tree, which are pretty sturdy, pinon pine. And they're lucky that that was the place they stopped instead of riding through, because I really think he would have snatched the last rider that came through there, and they would have never known anything that had happened. They would have been riding up the trail. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Who's up next? Was it Smith or Kent?
It's Kent.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
Kent.
just on the cryptid subject, mate. It's interesting that there seems to be
evidence that there are stable portals around the world. And I heard an interesting theory that maybe even the Loch Ness Monster was emerging from some type of subsea portal, which I thought was interesting way to think about it. But it sort of gives you the reason why we're not finding them, the bodies, the families, the leftovers, that they could be going back through whatever they come through. Even the green children that emerged from the cave in England came from what they said was a portal. So, the portal theory for how these cryptids are emerging, it takes away the travel issues, it takes away the time issues. There was two stories I just wanted to quickly mention. I was listening to a John Keel interview yesterday where he was talking about armies chasing dinosaurs. I know it sounds crazy, but I also heard a story about a tunnel being done in 1800 in England where they broke through a wall and a pterodactyl emerged, flapped its wings a few times and collapsed in front of them. Came from the Reader's Digest book of Bizarre, Weird but True Facts. So if these things emerge from portals and maybe end up in a wall or end up in running through a jungle or end up as a Sasquatch running through another jungle, it sort of gives us a methodology for how these things can be emerging and disappearing. And we're seeing them and witnessing them, but not being able to capture them or find trace of them.
Thanks, Ken. Go ahead, Smith.
Yeah, very interesting. You mentioned the little green kids, and that was not what I was even going to mention, but that was the first book I always talk about when I was a kid. My mother had this book about mysteries, and it had mentioned all these different things, and one was those green kids. So appreciate you mentioning that. I was curious, and again, Old Vet, you broached the topic. First Bigfoot, and now the Wolfman. So, that's something I was completely unaware of. But, we're talking about these flying creatures as well. Not necessarily pterodons, etc., but some kind of flying creature that seems to come through these portals. Now, I'm curious what people have to say about this Wolfman, because there seems to be an absolute ridiculous amount of sightings of this thing, okay? And I'm curious what people think. Now, one had said that it was basically some kind of weapon developed by the government, okay, as a weapon, and that they were splicing all these different, animals together to get different characteristics, but that it was too much of a liability. I don't know how true that is, but I'll end by saying and asking the TikToker who disappeared after filming that thing on the mountain. I was curious if people thought that was Bigfoot or some kind of Wolfman creature, because it was clearly humanoid, but too large to be a human. Thanks for letting me speak.
Hey, no problem, Smith. Go ahead, Liam.
Okay, so on the comparison to Bigfoot, I have been a studier. I've been all over the world. So you got first off, so the different chromosomes. Does anybody actually know about any hair follicle chromosomes that are actually located within the 21.2 cm of the interval of the chromosome 3q27 and 3q28? Because what that states is the hair follicle, you can have it from the head to the toe. Also, that being said, have you guys ever researched a place that is actually in Mexico? It's called Nakana. It is the largest cave system that has been found in the world. It is approximately half a mile underneath the ground, where they actually have calcite crystals that possibly, the way that it looks is diamonds. It has an ecosystem underneath the ground. It has air sustainability underneath the ground. They've actually gone about 3/4 to half a mile throughout the system. You can only be in this cave system for literally 15.2 minutes before you were having to be taken away or extracted from the center, because it is actually 125 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit just in the first little aspect of going down at 1,500 feet below the ground. So we don't actually know what is actually underneath our grounds. And per se, we have found cave dwellers back in the Asia Pacific area. And that is proven fact. Journalists have recorded it. They posted it all over different media sites. Governments are saying that is a X chromosome gene with a 21.2 cm. So that is a hair follicle disorder and mutation comparison of the chromosome in which the two families suggested like the common ancestral types and the halotypes from back in like the year 200, the year 300 of man existence that we actually currently know about to this day. And with that being said, somebody was touching on the topic of possible Loch Ness monsters coming through a portal. Actually, being a researcher, and I've gone throughout the oceans, we've actually only discovered 12.5%. That's right, 12.5% of the whole entire ocean. And going off the North Carolina coast, you can actually step out 125 miles. It will go down about 354 feet. You step out another 62 miles, it goes down to 10,000 feet and so forth. So we do not know what cave systems are actually there, what land masses are actually there, unless you actually go research it for yourself and go scuba diving and use different vehicles of going throughout the ocean. So I'm like, why would we go to space at the current moment if we don't even know about our own selves technically at this moment in time and what is here on the earth? Because I've done all of the research on this. I don't ever bring facts that are not true. I always bring it to the table. Just like there's a Bigfoot who they call this Simo. It is spelled Simito. And that was from like Honduras, that was from Belize, that was from Central America coming into Mexico, and there's been reports of the same creature look-alike, but it is actually, in fact, if you go back to our ancient days, you would actually call this creature a mitav, which is related to us through a different type of humanoid skull and humanoid system back in the year about 800 BC. It is called the Australopithecus. Australopithecus. And that is actually going back to the caveman days and before the humanoids, before the Homo sapiens, before the Homo neanderthals, before the Homo like erectus, or the habilis as well. So the other thing you guys were talking about a wolfman. The wolfman actually came from the Robotus, which is backdated right now to about 13, the year 13 in there, and they're actually spelled Robustus. And they've been found throughout Europe. They've been found throughout, like mainly the areas are Scotland, England. They've been found in Austria. They've been found in Czech Republic, Slovenia. So that theory also, the way their human structure was, they stood anywhere from 5'8" to about 7 foot tall. Their faces were slanted, and their directional of their brain actually came forth and more towards our eye area. So their faces were about, instead of like a foot, they were about 2 foot long in diameter instead of what ours are currently. So that's just touching bases on all that area. So I try and help people out, and I actually research for 2 to 5 years before bringing my facts, because I will tear everybody's stuff apart. I will go research everybody's stuff and tear it apart, and see if there's anything that is missing or anything that is in there. Like just like the crashes, the injuries, UFOs, whatnot. I go in through everybody's system and I will listen to them. I will dig out documents that have been found, documents people have made themselves. I will put them in the right categories because things can be tossed every which way. So I will come back a year later to 2 years later and I will voice my opinion after I've done that full research myself. Thanks for having me in, guys, because I'm a good friend of EB and a couple other people that come in and out through here. So,
Well, I'm glad glad you're in here, and thank you for coming. I like any different people we get in here, just new eyes, new opinions, which help everybody, because we can kind of get in these echo chambers, and it happens quite a bit. Was it J-Dog or Kent?
It was Kent.
Go Kent.
Yeah, no, I just think it's worth thinking about. We talk about interactive, imagination, shared consciousness and stuff. Could these wolfmen and different cryptids be a combination of experience, thought, power, energy, and different streams of thoughts and stuff coalescing through a physical conduit into a creature that doesn't really exist except through a combination of experience and thought?
Damn, that's a lot. And yes, that sounds complicated, but I agree, Kent. It could be something as crazy, a consciousness thing, something that manifests based on our consciousness. Like I think I've seen Gary Nolan and somebody put it like some super far
Yes,
advanced
sir.
3D printer, right? A 3D printer from far in the future. So it manifests like that. So good point. Let's go to J-Dog real quick.
Okay, real quick, Liam, excellent point on the crystal caves in Mexico. I've seen them before. You're right. If you spend too much time in there, they got to drag you out. It is the gases in there and the heat will kill you if you spend too much time in there. It is, I don't necessarily know if it's open to the public, but the crystals are massive.
Yes, it
Hugely
is not
massive.
open to the public.
It is massive.
Have a look at the picture down below, guys. I posted a pic down below.
Yeah, the crystals are massive. They look like giant quartz crystals. I'm not quite sure of their composition, but it's
Skyscraper,
impressive.
calcite.
Okay, impressive. It almost looks like fiction. If I encourage everybody to go research that and look at the pictures, it is incredible.
And the reason why I brought that up is J-Dog, because since they have an ecosystem down there too, and there's high-tane water down there with the oxygen as well, the enriched oxygen in the water.
Okay, yeah, it is just impressive beyond belief. It's like another world. You can't even believe it exists in a desert area in the middle of Mexico. It is incredible. So, Liam, thank you for bringing that up because I've always wanted to talk about that. Next thing, there was another topic that I wanted to bring up real quick. Beyond that, it was very important. I think it was Mokele Mumbai. Liam, if you have anything on that, I'd like to hear about it, and I'll concede my time.
I'm still researching that area, and I will get back with you, say, by Friday of next week.
Cool. Give each other a follow, man. That's what this places are about. Smith, what's up?
Hey, Olvet, thanks a lot. Appreciate the conversation. Glad to see Retrieval Madness in this space and Happy Mess as well. Big shout out to UFO Shane, Turtle of Time 12, like the new PFP. As above, so below. Very cool shit. One of the first people to be real nice to me in UAP Twitter. Appreciate that. I was just thinking about how, I was joking with my friend today, and she said, yeah, everything is a cult, in terms of ideology. And I was just thinking about how, like, the big thing is, okay, when's the guy in the suit and tie going to come on television and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's aliens, I think that happened when Michio Kaku went into Joe Rogan and said the burden of proof has shifted. Because I don't know how people feel about Neil deGrasse Tyson, NDT, but I think he's kind of a wank, honestly. He annoys the shit out of me. I like Michio Kaku, and I think him saying that is a paradigm shift, because he's a person to be taken seriously. He doesn't fly off the handle, and he's respected, and for him to say that means a lot. It means the evidence is so overwhelming at this point that I'm just trying to say, like, we're vindicated. You know what I mean? We're vindicated. We don't have to be ashamed anymore. And there's still a lot of shame and doubt and a lot of, like, judgment and stigma. But I don't give a fuck. because, you know, that's what happens when you're on the edge of what is like really happening, because everyone's going to, you know, it's like that with conspiracy theories. How many conspiracy theories have we seen proven true like every 6 months, you know? And then everyone's like, oh, no way, no way. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I knew it all along, you know? So I don't know what's going to happen with this stuff, but I'm just excited. To me, it's always telling how primitive we really are in our thinking, and the idea that many people really think that it's just us. You know, it's the most egocentric idea ever proposed,
Facts.
right? So thanks again for the community.
I just have to tell you guys before I leave, all of you guys are awesome. You guys are all bringing up really good points, and I'd love to work with every last one of you guys. Any type of research and study you guys have, I will research it over. I will look it over for 3 to 6 months, get back with you, and I will also send that to Michio Kaku because, yes, he does actually look over my work to verify before I come out to the public on things to make
Thank,
sure that I'm actually 100% in alignment.
thank you for that, ma'am. Gab, was it you
Yeah,
next, or was
I
it
just
Ken?
wanted to say that before we move away from the topic too much of cryptids and Bigfoot and all that, that I think it really is an important part of our community to start accepting some of the other aspects of the paranormal as being part of this. And I think a lot of people here are saying that already, but I think that we need to emphasize that more because some of those other people, you know, some of the people who like study ghosts or study Bigfoot or other cryptids, they feel like they are in a separate community. They're not a part of this, and I think everything is connected, and we need to work on it together. It's like all those puzzle pieces that need to get put back in place. So I think it's important that we remember not to ostracize other people and say they're not part of this when we're really all part of this.
Yeah, I just want to cut in before Ken speaks and say thanks for that, because to me it's like the ultimate cliche. It's like UFO Bigfoot. Oh my God! It's like, you know, it's the height of stupidity or whatever. You know, to me it's like it doesn't matter if it's not true. It's it's a sign of an intelligent mind that you can entertain something that might or might not be true, and that's what really matters. That we can think critically around these things. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, Shane, I'm not sure if you want to discuss it, so I just wanted to ask you, you know, because I've been looking up about this new report that's come out, and I think it's Scott Kelly or whoever it is, the presentation he was making, and I read the presentation. That sounded good, but I just wondered, did you want to discuss the report or the lack of meat in it? I was just really surprised.
Yeah, we can. That's perfectly fine. I'll tell you from my opinion real quick. So, since we don't got any hands up, first let me do my. Since I haven't done this, Kent, and you may have to remind me because my ADHD will get me off. So I want to answer that. But everybody, do me a favor. Follow my fellow co-hosts, the speakers, as well as Red Panda Koala, B, Sean, Jared's in here. I got a lot of people in here. We actually research this, and I have some PNW friends in here. That a couple new projects will be coming your way. I'm working on a documentary about the Yakima Valley. They're going to be helping me with that. I'm not going to call them out in here, but I have some friends that are around here. We're going to start meeting up, bringing all my camera equipment, IR stuff, and just doing this kind of thing, right? We got lots of people like Sean who does boots on the ground every damn night. Just my videos. He has loads of contact videos, just like myself, Jared. I've met so many people from UFO Twitter. I know people think of it as a shit show. It's not. It saved my life. Deb's part of an organization that's a big part to me, a big part of my heart because I still struggle from PTSD from my experience. Who do you talk to that about? I went to Wounded Warrior a couple months ago, and for my PTSD from combat, I figured that talking about that would help with this, and doesn't. You need to talk about it all. So I'm just kind of like beside myself sometimes. But and I need in person, and I'm thinking about reaching out to Wounded Warrior again, and it's just like this is a shit show. Well, whatever. But I'm grateful. And on that note, I also put Wounded Warrior program project. I put their a link up there. That's a campaign I've been running. I started about 3 weeks ago when we did UFO Twitter Week, which was a super positive, awesome thing. Type that hashtag in, guys. Go see some of the different interviews we did. We got more of those coming up as well.
I'll be donating to that. Thank you for that.
Appreciate it, J-Dog. Donate to it because right now it's at 6,000. I got halfway there, all because of UFO Twitter. You guys are good people. You're helping me. You Wounded Warrior helped me. So I'm very grateful to all of it and grateful to all the family I've met here and the different projects I've got going on. I've got a lot. So Roswell, I think the Roswell incident, who's on my podcast, Roswell UFO Symposium, Mike has his own documentary. We have several documentaries we're working on, multiple events. I'll be going to like 6 or 7 events this year, UFO events, just because I enjoy this group of people, my family, like Screen, Kent, and all these people in here. So give them a follow. And Kent, remind me what it was you just said. Oh, no, the Nothing Burger. So here it is. I expected this, and here's why. They're going to have to admit that they can't protect us. They're idiots, just as clueless as we are. And they're also going to have to show their hand, because they have crash retrievals. They got compartmentalized crash retrievals, which really sucks for us, right? Because we keep it so secret. Countries like Russia and China, who will kill a mofo, don't have to keep it so secret. So they may have them doing science, but science is collaboration. We don't do that here. Eric Davis in the Wilson memo, I think that shit happened. I think we have tech, and it's in the civilian sector, and there's a reason it's there. We put it in the civilian sector for the same reason we had the Atomic Energy Commission, which was civilian, to keep secrets. Want to fight me for it? I mean, that's just what we do, because you can't keep a secret in the United States government, right? What's up, Kit?
I just wanted to support you, Shane. You know, no matter how screwed up, you know, we all get when we argue with each other and stuff. My single reason, the most important reason for disclosure, is not so we can know UFOs are real. Most of us do. It's the way that it affects people. You know, veterans are the worst affected because quite often they're put in the worst position to deal with either the phenomenon or battle, whatever they have to deal with. And that's why I get so shitty about them not at least acknowledging that it's real, because it's the only way you're ever going to get the establishment to give, you know, warriors, vets, friggin' just normal everyday people proper, comprehensive treatment. That's what we need to do. That's what pisses me off about the way they're going about it in those circles, is they're not even getting to the point where they can give people proper support. If you don't want to admit you can't fucking deal with it, or you don't really know what it is, okay. But at least acknowledge it's real enough that it affects real people, real lives, real families every single day. That's the most important thing, in my opinion.
I'm also going to call out Kent for donating $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project campaign of mine. Yes, $500. Thank you, Kent, brother.
I wish I could do more, Shane. That's all I'm going to say, mate. I wish I could do more.
No, man, I won't forget it. Trust me on that shit, man. I'm going to say I'm super appreciative of that. And thank you very much. Smith, we'll get over to you real quick. And then I also wanted to say beforehand, guys, retweet the space. Just by retweeting, I may DM you, so you have to follow me and ask you win a credit for an Audible book or a book of your choice. So I'll just need an email at the most, and you'll have it. All I need is a retweet, and I really pay attention to the ones that are quoted, right? So especially about this topic, definitely books about that. So get on that, right? What's up, Smith?
Yeah, Future Martyrs first. Go ahead, Future. It's Future.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. You know, I think nobody needs to be vindicated of what they believe in. What you see is it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? You can believe in magic. You can believe in any number of things. You don't need to be vindicated. I think if everybody's on the same page and know that it's out there, that's enough. Nobody needs to worry about being secretive or Area 51, any of that. We all agree that it's there. It's just a matter of identifying it and saying, yeah, it is what it is, and with that information, you move forward. And how can you use it to your advantage? How is that beneficial not only to me, but to everybody else in the space, and everybody else involved? Because if we're all moving together as a unit toward the same goal, which is to be outrageously wealthy, I would assume, then we get everybody on the same page. Because if there's a lot of infighting between, which there is, of course, and that's, that is part of it, about what is real and what's not, and what's good for the group versus the individual. Yeah, that's going to happen, but at the same time, it's like that big fish eat little fish. The feel like somebody was saying, the cattle. The using it as chum. Yeah, people are gonna get fucking chummed. Like, I know firsthand. That's what happens. It'll happen again. And they'll come down and they'll feed off the vulnerable. So the biggest thing is how do you make yourself less vulnerable to the UFOs or the unidentified objects that are out there that either you have to have a still trap mind to be, to just have quiet amongst all the noise, or you need to have been able to adjust to the noise and that force that we all feel, and now some of us may be better insulated from outside beings, but the ones who aren't, I mean, they're in for a shit show. And I feel sorry. I feel sorry if they haven't transcended and have seen that light. And I'm enjoying listening to you guys. I can tell that you're very well informed. I mean, I could boss around with the semantics and say, I caught Bigfoot when, yada yada. But how I feel is that, and I just posted it, and it's a tragedy of what happens, but there's always a good comeback story in those things. So, thank you for letting me get up here and give my 2 cents.
Thank you for that, Future. I'll say before we get over to Smith real quick, I was talking about doing a documentary about the Yakima Valley here. Well, you should check out, I put it in the net, Red Panda Koala. He's got a load of documentaries, and it's actually one of the ways I actually got up to par and up to speed on the topic really quick, because he's, from the get-go, he put a lot of shit out, and it's one of the things I recommended to my wife to catch up, right? Because it's an easy way to get yourself into that. So Red Panda Koala, and another person would be Jesse Michaels, does some pretty good interviews. And there's a super cool one that's got Put Off and Eric Weinstein. That shit. I wish I could see more of that. When you have people at the top talking about the subject, asking questions, and you're just kind of like, what? So what's up, Smith? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again for your graciousness, OLDVET Symposium, the way you hold the space. You always get the mic and you'll interrupt and stuff and let people talk. So in that vein, I just want to say also you mentioned some things, and for me it's important because, I had a mental health assessment with VES 2 days ago, and it had been 10 years for me. And the first time it happened 10 years ago, I had lied to them. And I finally told the truth, and it's so freeing for me because, we bomb people. And a big part of my path towards this stuff was, after I got out, I started to research about the secret technology, all the stuff that's happening, just because of what, the stories you hear and the things you see, and, and so for me, it is legitimately about mental health. The path was personal to me, but in terms of UAPs, I mean, it's going to upend everything we know. And I think that, as much as I hate to say it, they're holding it back in such a way, I feel, that just try to go as slow as possible because of the shock of it, for people. And again, calling back to how primitive we are. So, and that's why I mentioned all this stuff, to link it together, this idea that we are so, I find out I'm bombing people, and the guy I'm bombing is my friend. I go to university at Maharishi and find out this guy was in Yemen, and then I was bombing him, and it's like Jacques Fresco said, zeitgeist moving forward, third one. Humanity has to get on the same team and go off into space together. It's like we keep bombing each other and killing each other. If we have any chance at all against ETs, it's like we need to get on the same team. You know what I mean? Team human. So, every time I fill out I'll end here. Every time I fill out a form and ask for my gender, I put Earthling, because to me, it's really about coming together as Earthlings and just being the best that we can be, because we're awesome and we don't have to keep killing each other and hating each other, because, we can go much further into like who's trying to control us and stuff. But if you listen to Elizondo, we're not in control. So that's a whole nother topic. I'll cut it there.
Hey, thank you, Smith. And hey, I actually by chance completely forgot. So I mentioned Red Panda, and then I mentioned Jesse Michaels, American Alchemy. Fuck, Red Panda was on American Alchemy. He's a little celebrity right there, right? His docs are that goddamn good. So you need to check that shit out. Go ahead, Deb.
Hey, wait, real quick, Shane, I just donated $100 to the Wounded Warriors.
Dude, that's sick. I won't forget it. I'm going to be, if you guys do put a comment, I'm going to make you guys a little video or something like that. So you won't believe how appreciative I am. They helped save my life. They got me the care that the VA couldn't. So go ahead, Deb.
No, I feel like that was like a really deep moment, talking about transcending as humans and us unifying. And I have to say that some of us are there already, like we get it. And, it's not a hippie thing like some people say. Like, I know that that's something you mentioned earlier, but I think it's just like awareness. Humanity needs to mature. And when people are still attacking each other or hurting each other, some of us are going, isn't that something that we used to do? Why is this still happening? Like, why are people still doing those things, So I agree. We definitely have, some of us transcended past that, where we just don't get why people are still doing those things to each other. So I wanted to like touch on something real quick, and I actually have to go soon, Shane, because it's getting late for me. But I wanted to let you know that when people are open to looking at other things, they're going to find some huge parallels between these different concepts. They're going to find things like Bigfoot speaks telepathically to people, and there's emoting that happens, just like with what people call aliens or grays or non-human intelligence. They're going to find that the electromagnetic stuff happens with all the phenomenon, and they're going to find the portal concept might be connected to all the phenomenon also. So for instance, like when people talk about shadow people, there's a lot of similarities to that. And when people are talking about ghosts, or when they're talking about demons, or they're talking about the jinn, things like that. So I feel like people need to just be more open-minded. And of course, I'll go with my last thing, just please also let's think about transcending. Like, we need to grow up as a species, save the planet, grow up, stop hurting each other. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you,
Good.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I'll
Good
see you
night,
later.
everybody.
Thank you for helping. Give her a follow. She's got an awesome 2 podcasts. She probably got 50 more podcasts too on her different accounts. Who
No,
knows?
but
3 podcasts.
No, but I am, of course, trying to help do the interviews for UAP Med when I think of someone to do them with. And I've got a project I'm going to be doing tomorrow with some people. So, but you'll see. You guys will see it tomorrow. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Me as well. Bye, Deb. Damn, here I am casting this. I forgot I'm on 3 podcasts. I'm on Military Witness to UAP. That's a new one that I just got invited to co-host on with Shannon Scott and Rob Heatherly. But my podcast with Toby and Mike is Roswell UFO Symposium. I also am on Mind Escape with Mike, right? So got lots of time on my hands. Now I'm going to make, before we get over to Sean, I just want to say, Sean, or get over to Kent. Sean, get ready, because I'm going to ask you what the hell you've been up to after Kent. What's up, Kent?
Oh, no, let Sean speak, mate. No, I'm fine. I was just going to talk a bit more about, the entities and stuff. No, let Sean go, mate.
All right, bro. Thank you. Well, Sean, what you been recording? What you been doing? What you planning on doing?
Well, first of all, can you hear me? Because I can never be heard in these fucking spaces. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Sean.
Awesome. Shane, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Sean's one of the very first fucking people I met on this fucking shit
Wait,
show.
hold on. What do you mean not much? You're doing fucking everything, man. You're killing shit. You're fucking killing shit.
Yeah,
Proud of you, man. From those first messages to now, man. I'm proud of you, seriously.
Yeah, that literally, just to say it, Sean was like the first person I met as an experience that kind of helped me realize I'm not bad shit insane. If you only saw the shit I sent that poor guy. Him and Ted Rowe. You and Ted Rowe both.
Oh shit. No, man, I haven't. Excuse me. I've been out a couple of times, but I've really been on downtime these past few months. But this year, I plan on. I'll just say this. I plan on getting my best footage. Hopefully, if everything goes the way I plan it to go. But yeah, man, same shit. I don't want to run my mouth about my shit, but same thing, man. Just repeat contact experiences. A lot of weird, interesting stuff.
Yeah, but that's important. Doing that boots on the ground, documenting this shit. That's what I'm trying to do. My weather here is shitty right now, which is weird for my area. But the last couple of years during the winter, it's overcast and raining, and I can't see shit. So it's like there's no point. But come summer 2023, oh man, I'm on point.
Listen, I'm excited to see what you get with that. What is it? I'm high right now. What is it?
Yeah, me too. I got the Sony A7 III version 2, so it's got IR capabilities. So.
That's great, but the other one.
Oh, the Nikon P1000 with the 3000 millimeter.
Yeah, I got to get my hands on one of those too, because here's the thing, right? Not that it'll be the most like a 4K picture or video or whatever, but just speaking from my experiences, and Shane, I know from yours too, because I've seen your videos. With that camera, I'm not an expert on cameras, but I know that camera can go miles. And these things tend to be very close. And it would be interesting I can't wait, because I want to do this eventually, and you should too. To go out and just how detailed, how close up can you get? Like, can we get something to where we can actually maybe see, excuse me, what's behind that glow and the orbs or the ships, whatever the fuck it is, right? That's what I'm excited for whenever I get my hands on that camera. But you have it, man. So yeah, when you start going out, I'm excited just to see what you get with that, because I don't know how many people have that camera, are having these experiences, care to go out and do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't like YouTube too many like UFO videos with that camera. You're not going to get that. You're going to get like birds, the average things that people are recording and stuff. So to have these like intentional, calculated things where people do whatever they do, whether it be protocols, meditation, or just looking up, however you connect to whatever's out there, to do that with certain pieces of equipment that can really shed some light, because there's stuff in the public sector, like, you gotta, it's weird, it might not be how you look, but it's it's in the same kind of group. What if we can get people who are having these experiences with decent stuff like the camera that you have, Shane, and we can get like these really like up close detailed shots of whatever the fuck is going on up there?
Right on. I'm super psyched as well. And here's a tip too. If you look at getting one, I didn't know this at the time, you can spend another $400 and get it from a website with IR capability. So imagine having that zoom, but you can use it as night vision at night. So like $400 more, and I'm like, shit. And I had already bought the Sony and all that other stuff too. And I was like, just a recommendation, look that up before you do anything, because imagine that shit. IR capabilities on top of that zoom, and he's not lying, guys. The zoom on this thing, you can't get a camera that's equivalent to it, or I can't afford a lens. For me to afford a Sony lens that equals this zoom, and it is 4K, it's just 30 frames per second. I think it was like $20,000 in lenses to get that amount of zoom and all those. So you're right, and I recommend definitely trying to get that IR one, man. What's up, J-Dog?
No, I was just going to say, I'm a software engineer, and I worked on a sophisticated project for the DoD many years ago. Not many, but let's just say within a decade. That had to do with touchless kind of identification. And so there's some good libraries out there that we used. My Python's a little rusty, but I would volunteer my time to go back into it again, and kind of, if you needed some work done on the high resolution images to kind of bring out some features that may not necessarily be captured, I would be happy to volunteer my time, and so with that, I give up the rest of my time.
Hey, thank you for that, J-Dog. I already gave you a follow, so DM me, we'll be in touch, because I'll take you up on that. What's up, Michael?
Can I ask a quick question, Shane? I've been trying to download my videos and photos onto my PC so I can have a look at my stuff more detail, and it just keeps stopping. It won't download it. Do you guys get that trouble?
I'm going to drop down the listener, Shane. I've lost my volume.
All right, Michael. Hey, say that one more time, Kent. You broke up on my end.
I was just going to ask, I've got like thousands of pictures and stuff from Malta and other things as well. I've been trying to download it all onto my PC so I can start working with it and get ready for my next step. And it won't download. I get like 35 photos into it, and it just keeps saying it won't download it. Do you guys get that trouble?
No means no, Ken. I don't know. It said no. I don't know what to tell you, man.
No, it's weird. I mean, like at one stage I had 8,000 photos, and then my phone got hacked and I lost 3,000 of them. But like I've got about 5,000 left, and I get 35 into it, and it just won't download shit. It's weird. From an iPhone to an Apple to an Acer, PC.
I'm not sure what that would be. Not sure at all, but shit does happen. Probably CIA, man. Probably the damn CIA. Hey, Screen, how you going to pop in my space? You're going to come up to speaker, not going to say a word, and go back down to listener. Are you a weirdo? What's up, Jared? All my family up in here. I'm very appreciative of everybody coming to these spaces. So, like talking about it. We can talk about anything you guys want, paranormal related, UAP related, anything. So, put it in the thread, retweet this, bring it up here. You got experiencers, you got fake ass scientists up in here. You got some documentary makers, right? And I said the fake ass scientist thing as a joke, right? If you're in these rooms, you know what I mean. Lots of veterans. Thank you for your service. And the rest of you guys, you're awesome. What's up, Lady V? I've met quite a few people in person. I'm a bit of a conference groupie, I should say. I like to go and I like to meet people, especially. So I've met lots of people at the top of the subject, but my favorite people are all my peers. Because shit, if I had met Lady V 15 minutes earlier, we'd have been high as hell. But I just booked an Uber to go buy my own damn weed. So, Lady V, next time I'm down at UFO Congress, you got me, right? You got me. So this I'm telling you, people in here are good. I don't give a shit about what people say about UFO Twitter. There's a lot of good shit that goes on, a lot of good people here. So, and it doesn't even matter about the weed. You don't even have to like weed to be good, in my opinion. It just makes you extra good, in my opinion. So, I'm appreciative of you guys being here. You guys want to talk about anything else? Let me know. I put a bunch of stuff up in the nest. The nest is at the very top of the forum. And there's a thread down here, too. Put your favorite subject, your favorite links about it here. Retweet it, though. And it gets us more active, and we can keep talking and do what we do. So I Thanks again. What's up, Screen? Let me get you up here. So there you go. Now you can talk. Comes up here like a weirdo, doesn't say shit, and then bounces back down.
Screen just saw me come up to the mic, so he just wants to, be like, oh shit, Rafi's up there first. Oh no.
Oh, by the way, speaking of weirdos, before Screen talks, Rafi's been up here for 4 fucking hours and hadn't said a word. Now he decides to talk right now.
No.
So
I haven't been up here.
Yeah, whatever.
I actually left.
Whatever,
I
weirdo.
left a while ago. I had to go take care of something.
My bad.
And
my bad. I still love you though.
Love you too, Zaddy.
I knew you were gonna say that shit too, man.
Rafi, you're a good guy, brother. I'm glad to see you here.
I was having a little bit of like imposter syndrome before, but then I realized J-Dog was up here, so if you could do it, so can I. Love you too, J-Dog.
Oh, by the way, Rafi, I started... Oh, sorry, Screen.
Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to let Rafi know I started my stand-up career, but I need to find an audience next.
Well, please join. Please let me know when you do it. I will co-host for you and keep the kids in line.
Yeah, but the thing is, probably the only ones that'll listen to me will be too young to be on Twitter. So, anyway, sorry, Screen, move on.
It's all good. I was just saying hey to everybody. I'm in the car, so it was probably connecting to Bluetooth and stuff. But yeah, I love being a weirdo too. And shout out to Gay Dog. Good to see him around.
Thanks. Please stop making fun of me in the DMs, for goodness sakes.
But you like it. Look, it's J-Dog. He likes it.
I mean, come on.
So I really wanted to just get up here and say...
I it doesn't bother me, but it's like...
Hey, let me ask you, Rafi.
I wish I saw half of what you said to each other.
But I don't even want to know what you guys be talking about.
I don't know what
weirdos. But I will ask you this. Hey, Rafi.
Yeah, I got caught on hot mic in a hot.
Hold on 1 second, J-Dog. The host
It's
is
been the
asking
joke
me.
of the century ever since.
You're not be able to hear me.
J-Dog
not be able
keeps
to hear
talking.
me.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, what
is
is
J-Dog,
happening?
can you hear me? Hold on. J-Dog, can you hear me? Sometimes there's a bug, guys.
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's try to keep our hands in here because I'm special. But I was going to say, Rafi, why did you say you had imposter syndrome when you were in here earlier so you didn't speak? I'm curious.
Oh, no, I was joking. I didn't really have imposter syndrome.
I know you don't, but why would you make that comment? Obviously, the comment was
because
there for
sometimes,
a reason. I know it.
Sometimes I do kind of get imposter syndrome because every time you think that like you might like know the knack or have like the treasure trove reference for the masses here on UFO Twitter, there's always some fucker that comes out of nowhere and says, well, this is this, and then it changes everything, and then you don't know what to do. It ruins your whole week if you let it. So then you just have to step away from the computer for a little while.
That's why I asked you, Rafi. That's exactly what I thought you did it for and said it for. That's why I asked you, because, again, guys,
did you just therapize me?
I did.
Did it hurt?
That'll be 500 gifts, bro. 500 gifts in that thread. All right, so check this out. We'll get to, hey, who was it, Smith or Sue? But
Hey, I just want to say real quick, Rafi, thanks, old vet. Rafi, you're hilarious. I love when you host. You're kind of mean, but it's entertaining, so thanks. I always get a crack out of you, and you have good conversation.
Am I really?
You've been therapized.
I just got therapy. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with getting therapized. I actually cannot wait to get therapized next Tuesday, you guys. I'm so excited.
Did I hear somebody say Rafi was mean?
Yeah, I'm like, the fuck over here? The clown is saying I'm mean? Clowns are the scariest fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life on this east side of the Mississippi, mother...
Remember, if you're scared of it, it's not your clown.
Ever been to a board meeting?
Let's get some control in this room, people. Let's get some control. Sean, you don't have to raise your hand, by the way. You know this, right? You and Tech can just while out. But Sue, go ahead.
I know how Rafi feels because I've just been listening, and I've been listening now for months. And if we were talking paranormal, you wouldn't be able to stop me from talking. But with UFOs and UAPs and all that kind of thing, I can only contribute so much, not being an experiencer. So that's why I'm starting to research and read books. So
let me ask you this.
What?
Do you have an Audible account?
No, and I was just thinking about that when you were
Well, you
talking about
stop thinking about that and make sure you have an Audible. I'm going to send you one gift, whatever you call it, for Audible. This is the book you have to get and listen to, okay? The very first one you need to listen to, and everybody else, if you're going to listen to a book, my favorite, period, is Keel. John Keel,
it. Oh yeah,
Operation Trojan Horse.
I've heard that a million times, but I've never read it or anything. But I have heard that.
La-di-da-su.
Well,
La-di-da-su.
I do know some things because of the
I know
paranormal.
you do, but that's my point. You shouldn't count yourself out. So listen to this book, dude. I'm on my 7th turn, I think, turn through it because I love it. And there's a space I'm going to do a book space on it. We like to do UFO book spaces as well.
Yes.
Another good book. Sean can tell you about it. Dorothy Isaac.
Oh yeah, and
Yes, absolutely. Great.
Sean's my Rhode Island buddy.
I'm
so.
high. Yes, absolutely. Sue's out here in Rhode Island. Contact with Beings of Light. I'm almost high of Shane, so I forgot for a second. But Contact with Beings of Light, great book.
So Sean, Shane, when you come out to Rhode Island, you can see both of us.
Oh,
Shane.
Sue.
Get him some real seafood.
I heard you, Sue. All right, let's get around the room, Sue. You get back to reading those damn books. Keep yourself honest, girl. What's up, Smith or J-Dog?
J-Dog.
All right,
No, not J-Dog.
Just real quick, am I ever gonna not be the laughing stock in the DMs? I mean, I doubt it. It's probably terrible question. Maybe Rafi can answer, but probably not ever going to be the laughing stock of the DMs in the nest and wherever you guys come from.
That's a good thing.
So anyway, is it ever possible, or am I just wishing and hoping on fucking nothing?
Hey, if people are fucking with you in these spaces, it's because they like you. Chase, one of my favorite people who is not here, is usually a co-host, and I'm gonna have to start paying him. I didn't realize how much I missed him co-hosting and pasting shit in the thread. I fuck with him with no end in sight. And now I'm like, man, I should stop doing that because I need him in here all the time. So it's just because I care for the dude, man. It's probably a matter of one of those things, like you screw with your boys.
I mean, it's no worries, but it's just kind of like, God, will it ever end? You know,
Who's fucking with you, J-Dog?
Will.
Yeah, not in these spaces, bro, because I can tell you this. You're weird. You're here. There's no doubt in any of that
I
shit.
know, and I mean, I granted, I give you that. I'm weird. I'm, whatever. I mean, people have a lot of different names for me, but it's just kind of like, God, will it ever end? And it's like, nope, it's never gonna end.
Wait, I'm so confused. What's never going to end? I feel like I'm somebody on the outside of the inside joke, which is fine. I just want to get clued into what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh no! I refuse to let that go out in like no.
Let what go out?
No.
But you just brought it up though, so I'm just asking like what you're talking about.
Are you saying like J-Dog, like nobody's taking you seriously or anything? Is that like what you're talking about? Or are you talking about like just you don't like jokes?
No, Rafi can.
Is it because we call you Gay Dog?
Are you really like kind of high right now, and maybe you're just
no.
things out loud?
It's. I mean, it's the same thing. I got caught in a hot mic, and it goes around everywhere, and so it's kind of like.
But wait, what goes around everywhere? Because listen, hold on, real quick, Rafi, real quick. Just let me real quick. I don't know what you're talking about, which is fine. So when you say such and such hot mic, it goes around everywhere. Don't take this anyway, good or bad or indifferent. It doesn't go everywhere because I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, and I would bet the majority of people in this room.
I'll second that. I have no.
Hold on, real quick, because let me land. I would bet that the majority of the people in this room probably don't know either. There's probably a small group that do, and that's fine. And you don't have to bring it up. But I only asked because you just brought it up. Like, so are we gonna just like talk about the thing and not talk about the thing? Because that's kind of weird. Or are we gonna like talk about it and move on? Like, I'm just confused. It's like, what?
No, the thing is coming. It's coming, man. Have you lived through the thing?
Somebody just DM me the duck.
It is embarrassing. It's basically me in my bedroom watching porn, and I didn't realize that I had a second browser window open.
All right, we're good. You don't need to say anymore. Anymore. I appreciate that. Didn't know we were going that direction because we didn't mean to. That's not your fault. That's the room's fault for encouraging it. So that's not. Wasn't expecting that. But guess what, buddy? I didn't hear about it till you. And this space is recorded, so the rest of the world's going to hear about it. Matter of fact, I want to talk about this shit on my next couple podcasts, man. I'm just fucking with you. Let's move on to something UAP related. I'm so sorry that happened to you, dog, because that would suck.
Oh yeah, I'm paying for it.
Well, something was sucking, but sorry.
So you did you
I think he
did
likes it.
Jeff Tobin, everyone.
Rein him in,
Never mind.
Shane.
Yeah. All right. Hold on, real quick, Shane. Hold on. All right, we're gonna move. Let me just co-host real quick, Shane. I'm not trying to step on you. We're gonna move the ball. But I will say this in the last comment. I have the last word on this. You definitely just spread that more than it ever was before, unfortunately. But that's fine. Shit happens, bro. It's not the end of the world. Smith, what's up?
Thanks, Sean, for being the sergeant at arms in the mix. Glad to see Screen here. Screen name 229, the super host, UAP host, and Astro as well. Really glad to see you both hanging out. Yeah, let's just change it up a little bit. I mean, actually, I've been holding this one, and I was just curious because, UFO Shane and some others had kind of clued me in because, I'm a little unorthodox, eccentric myself. As you say, you're weird, you're here, right? So, but I'll just ask, the audience, I'm curious what people have to say about this, which is, everyone has their own line for what they consider to be woo-woo. And so I would be curious to hear what people like once you jump the shark, so to speak. So I would love to hear that because Old Vet here is doing a good job of holding an even-handed, very open-minded space. Thanks to Tech Tweets and Sean for co-hosting. I appreciate that. There's no judgment, you know what I mean? We can just talk about whatever. I mean, we're giving each other a hard time. There's little in-circle drama, which I don't know about. Sorry. I'm not in on those circles yet. That's why I jump between communities so I can stay out of the drama. But it's part of being human, and we all, we love each other, and we have differences, so that's fun. So I'd love to hear what people have to say about that. Like, what's your version of woo-woo? What's woo-woo to you in terms of UFO, UAP stuff?
Do you mean real quick? Sorry, Smith. Sorry, Shane.
No,
do you
go,
mean
bro.
Do you mean like what's like your line? Like what's too woo for you? What you don't believe, or do you mean like what's like what we consider the most woo thing that we do believe? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, either one. I mean, just to talk about that where you ride that line, on both sides of it, perhaps.
I'll say this.
I believe a lot of fucking crazy shit because I'm sitting here trying to think like, what?
Go ahead, Sean. Tell them the crazy shit that I'll tell.
Right, because everything can't be a conspiracy, but what happens is they co-opt shit. So anytime something comes big, and it's part of the psyop thing, the misinformation aspect. Some of it's true, some of it's not. So I get all that, but once we get in a certain mindset, in which I did after the Air Force, I was very much like, into these conspiracies because they come true. It's like, and no one's paying attention. There's documents on this shit, and so many of them over and over. So it's like, the level of what is considered woo is so subjective. I felt, you know what I mean?
I feel like it's all fucking like the whole psychic phenomena, the whole wheelhouse of shit, remote viewing, fucking contact, fucking channeling, tele, whatever the fuck, like just innate things that we probably just have in us, all of us, and can tap into to whatever degree, however we apply it, probably. I think really it's life is really stranger than fucking fiction. I think it's just fucking kind of crazy. There's obviously like things that are just kind of, I mean, at least for me, too ridiculous, but there's a lot of legit stuff or stuff that has a lot of,
exactly,
you know what I mean, that it's so fucking weird that that there's some elements of truth to a lot of it, you know?
Right. I mean, the CIA docs on astral projecting and TM, transcendental meditation, and this kind of stuff. It's like this is considered to be woo-woo by most people, but it's legit confirmed, the whole hemisync thing. And in TM,
I'll give you a weird concept that I've been thinking about lately, and it's just something to, it's just a thought experiment. But when you're having an argument with someone, whether it's a total stranger or someone close to you, is there a possibility that the phenomenon can jump in if it so desires? And that's something I've been having to think about lately.
Real quick, so the woo thing, I'll tell you that Astral loves the word. He's right there in the space. You should probably give him a follow. If you want to go into spaces and talk about RV, precog, I'll get your thumbs down out of this goddamn space, Astral. You want to talk about...
Okay, so precog is one.
Okay, there you go. Astral opened my eyes to this shit. That's how I learned. So I go to his spaces. We do live ones. There was a live one last night I kind of missed out on. I was being a sourpuss. But so if you really like that kind of stuff, you need to stay in these spaces for all these people. Now, as far as woo on my end, I'll tell you that I'm in the position. Somebody's mic's hot, so I think it's you, Tech. I can hear you eating or something, bro. So,
no, sorry. I just put it on mute. Sorry about that.
No, you're all right, man. I can hear you chewing on something. I don't know what the hell it was. But
no, I'm sitting next to a fire. That's all. Sorry.
Okay. So I'll tell you that for me, I'm here now doing the things that I am, coming from a point that I was sick and not knowing what the hell I was doing through a series of events, starting with an experience, continuing with an experience, and then synchronicities led me to validate said experiences through, books about my location and being in a documentary or being in UAP Med with someone who was a researcher of the Yakima Valley, which is where I live, and who's what pointed me to the book that I pointed in the nest earlier, the Earthlight Theory. And then I'm also was in a documentary that I didn't know, who had another researcher who's talking about the Yakima Valley and the balls of plasma and the portal and the Yakima Nation. While I was added later to this documentary, Mike, who became a friend of mine from my experience, with my videos of the balls of plasma, which you guys can see are in the nest and stuff, that I'm in Yakima Valley recording these things. So that's woo. I went from atheism to agnostic. I'm not saying I think these things are God, but I jokingly say I pray to my alien overlords, but I don't know, man. I think God and this is one and the same. I think the same, and I think the Bible, the book of experiences. I think all of these... So I'll tell you some woo, bro. You keep sticking around my spaces, my podcast, stuff like that. I have to say the woo goes deep. What's up, Raffy?
Yo, the woo? Oh, the woo gives me the chills all the time. But I think that what's woo-woo for me is just anything that kind of delves into the whole idea of telepathic communication and whatever entities are out there kind of going into my consciousness and kind of controlling them in a way or saying things that I honestly don't want to hear. I think that's what's woo for me. And that's where that crosses over with the paranormal, because it seems like some of these entities operate on similar frequencies to that of otherworldly beings, like spiritual beings.
Thank you, Raffy. Tech, you don't got to raise your hand, brother. You and Sean.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for me, the ultimate woo, but ironically, the thing that I think is the most probable is the whole simulation hypothesis, and that that what we think is reality is not really actually real, and that we're somehow inside of some type of simulation, and that basically anything is possible inside of it. Some things are more probable, some things are less probable. But that what we actually think, our perception of that everything is a material reality, is actually not true. And there's some things out there that kind of point in that direction. like the double slit experiment and things like, hypotheses about the Big Bang and all of that. To me, that's the craziest, because to think that, you're not really a person, but you're just like a conscious entity inside of some type of simulation. That to me is as far woo as you can get.
What if it's a little bit of both? What if, if you look at it, people who believe spirits are eternal, or that lifespans or our consciousness is eternal, then a single physical presence on the earth, where you can conduit your own experience through a physical form, would appear like a simulation, because you'd be, and you could even be running it yourself. You could be saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to simulate my life as a male on this planet at this time in this location, and see how it goes. See if the boy survives, or see if the girl survives, or see what we can learn this time. And in a way, that would appear like a biological, energetical simulation to the person experiencing it, without the knowledge that you're part of an eternal process, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
I do. And hey, guys, we'll get to J-Dog right after this, but I'm going to close this up. It's time for dinner, and I'm ready to wind it up. So let's get to J-Dog. Guys, do me a favor, though. Follow all my co-hosts, all the speakers. Check out the nest up there, Wounded Warrior link. Click on it. I'm going to make everyone that puts a comment in there a personal video. So keep it cool, and I appreciate everything you guys do. J-Dog, go ahead, and thank you guys all for being here, man. It's cool to talk about this with positive people, man.
Appreciate that. Happy to donate to Wounded Warrior. That was gave me a good feeling. I always try to live my life as a good person and try to be good to others and do good in life. That was really touched by, or not touched, but the double slit theory which Dick brought up was kind of one of my favorites, because I think if you take it from 1,000-yard view, it just explains where, if you look at matter, matter is born from chaos, right? And it wants to organize. It wants to be, organized. And so that's why we have planets. That's why we have a sun. That's why we have, a solar system. That's why we have a galaxy. This is all birthed from a cloud of hydrogen, which is one proton, one electron, and one neutron. And when that cloud, supernovas, it, creates all matter. You get what's called fusion. And so hydrogen then creates helium, which is 2 protons, 2 neutrons, 2 electrons. And it just keeps going from there and there, which is how we get the elemental chart, and which is why we have a solar system, which is what we're all made of, right? Well, we're carbon-based, but we couldn't get carbon without the initial spark from a cloud of hydrogen. So it just goes to show, based on, and the double slit theory explains this, where a free particle wants to organize. It wants to cluster. It wants to find others like itself, and kind of group up in a way that is more organized. Like when the supernova happened and created the solar system, and we get all the elements, that was chaos, and boom. Now we have more, say, we have more of we have planets, we have more of a ecosystem that is conducive to producing life. And so I hope everyone understands that and appreciates it. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, J-Dog. Smith, make it quick, real quick. I'm starving, bro. I'm a big fat kid.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's another. It would last too long, so I appreciate the space. Thank you so much for everything. Old Ben, enjoy dinner.
You know what, though, Smith? I got an idea. If you go on my profile or these other co-host profile, you hit that bell and you click, check mark the spaces. Every time we have a space, you'll be notified. Everyone should do that. I'd appreciate it. And
Right on.
guys, I hate to cut it this short, but I'm starving. Like I said, fat kids need to eat. And I'll talk to you guys later. I'll post some more spaces we'll have them here. It's cool to have a positive vibe where we talk about the subject, we keep it on the subject, and we don't do crazy shit. Well, this is crazy shit, but we don't do crazy shit that puts us in jail or all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for being the positive people to make me want to do the things that I do. I'm not shitting around when I say UFO Twitter is the only reason I'm continuously moving forward in projects, the people I met here. You think I'm lying? Talk to me in person. You won't. So love you guys, man. I'm out. Kissing and hugs.
Take care, everyone.
Portions of the government we both served with pride have failed us. They have lied, withheld secrets, acted in their own selfish interests at the expense of their citizens. And don't believe anyone who tells you this all began in Roswell in '47. I'm convinced now that whatever I've glimpsed or encountered and spent my life tracking has been with us since humankind came down out of the trees. It is not something out there, in the President's words. They may well have once been our neighbors from some distant star, but I believe they were here before us. I believe that were we able to look deeply at the whole of human history, we would see that they have always been here. I believe they have observed, helped, haunted, tormented, and teased us since the beginning of time for reasons entirely their own. I believe that they are a multitude, and that their true nature is singular and energetic, not physical, evolved in some way light years beyond our ability to understand, and as a consequence, our limited, linear sense of time means nothing to them. A few of us were chosen for some strange purpose to learn more about them, or perhaps for other reasons. I believe their presence fills more than the skies or these woods. They lie at the root cause of every extra-normal or paranormal experience our species has recorded. Religious, spiritual, scientific, ghostly, inspirational, angelic, and demonic. From the burning bush to Fatima and Lourdes, to vampires and sky people, monsters and abductions in the night, and Roswell and Homestead and all those strange lights and crafts seen for millennia by so many of us in so many skies. I believe all these phenomena that our puffed up egos and busy ant minds persist in trying to label, categorize, penetrate, and comprehend all spring from this same uncanny source. This is the mother of all others. And were we ever able to set our eyes on its ultimate nature, we would find it as foreign, incomprehensible, and indifferent to us as ours would be to bacterial microbes swimming in a drop of water. These final truths you must never forget. We are utterly incapable of knowing their true intent, and their true intent may not be to wish us well. It may be that they're here to guide or even aid our evolution. It's equally possible we may matter no more to them than those random protozoa in our tap water do to us. In other words, by our meager moral definitions, they may be both good and evil. And those precious distinctions of ours mean nothing to them. There may be even a good and evil side at play here. And we, our human race, is the game. Let me hasten to add, I hope I'm wrong, that this work, being chosen, has deranged me. But Garland, I fear that I am right, and in my right mind. The owls may indeed not be what they seem, but still serve an imperative function. They remind us to look into the darkness,